Y'all can hear that, right?
Oh, yeah.
They hopping right in. Gonna get about 20 more seconds, Coach.
Oh, yeah. Big week this week.
Oh, yeah, huge week.
This is like putting the nail in the coffin of who's going to be who.
They already started handing out pink slips, so you know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to welcome everybody to HBCU Coaches Corner. I'm your host, Rocky Miller, along with my other co-host, Mr. Stephen Campbell, the bishop, the detective, the man with the plan from FAMU. But our featured host each and every week is the man on one windy night in Itta-Benny, Mississippi, threw 6 touchdowns against Mississippi Valley and Archie the Gunslinger Cooley, Jerry Rice, and of course the satellite Totten. All right. None other than my man, Coach Johnnie Cole. Did I get it right that time, Coach?
Man, look, you always adding another touchdown to it. But that's okay. It was a great night, and like I always say, when you got good people around you, that I played with, some of my teammates, man, you can have those type of nights. But first I want to just say thanks to all the veterans, man. Thanks to you, Rocky, for your service time, and thanks to all the veterans. I know I've had several brothers of mine went to the military, but it's y'all day to day, man. I really want to thank you from the heart for making sure that we secure over here in the United States.
It was my pleasure. It wasn't always easy, but I was proud to do it, man. So thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Campbell, we ain't got our guest is a busy man. We ain't got much time, so we're not gonna mess around on this. Campbell, you got anything you want to say before we get?
No, let's get him on because I saw him on the YouTube, so I got a couple of questions for him. So let's get him on.
All right. This host, I had him on my podcast, and we had a great show, one of my most viewed podcasts, man. And Coach Cole reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, why you didn't have him on the show?" I said, "Coach, we always have coaches." He said, "Well, Flood can come on. Flood can come on." So I had to get you on. I didn't want to bring you right back, but I think this is a great time of the year to bring this gentleman back. This is a guy who is a veteran media personality, has hosted sports talk shows in multiple markets across the United States, is also a Southern insider, and his most recent appointment is a SWAC TV commentator, and he does a fabulous job. I want to welcome my man, Reggie Flood.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Right. First of all, Veterans Day, thank you for your service, brother. Thank all the veterans out there for their service, man. We really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, Flood, I brought you on, man, because there's so much going on in the SWAC. There's so much particularly going on at Southern. We talked about what ultimately happened this summer when you were on the podcast with me. I said, hey, I believe they kind of setting up T. Graves for failure by ranking him or putting Southern as a contender for the SWAC championship. I didn't think their offseason dictated that, and unfortunately, he's moved on to hopefully greener pastures. But I got to ask you, because you tipped off some things that surprised me, and we could just get into it like this, Flood. You said that Terence Graves was directed to do some things. He had promised, I guess, the administrators that he'd make some changes with how he was operating. He told them that it had been done, but it hadn't been done. Now, you broke that story after T. Graves was let go. I got to ask you, how much did that contribute into his ultimately being let go?
I think he was going to be let go anyway. I think that contributed to the immediacy of him being let go. Because, you know, if you remember that day, he did the press conference and everything. He made the appearance at the press conference, and then it was later on that day. And a lot of people had a problem with the fact that he was saying, well, they let him do the press conference and his media appearances, and then they let him go. But at the time when he was doing that, I don't think they were intending to let him go until December, after the last game, after the Bayou Classic. And I think when those things were brought to them, then they decided we just need to go ahead and just do this now and just go ahead and cut bait right now.
Now, I asked Coach Cole about this, and I guess Coach Cole can get in here because he said he's never been in that situation where he promised to do something with his staff, and he always felt like those were football decisions. What made this decision, or was this a football decision that administrators were making, or was there a particular issue going on where they wanted to make that change?
I think that, and that could be a debate, but I think it was a football decision in terms of, you know, what coach, what play call and stuff like that. It was definitely a football decision, and there was an ask for a change to be made in a football decision. I guess Coach Graves didn't want to make that change, but he didn't want to tell them no, and you know, so that was kind of the way it turned out.
Coach Cole, ultimately, you've worked for an AD many times before, or whoever the administrator. It could have been, I don't know who, because you didn't identify the person that he made that he told that he would make a change. So I'll just say this, Coach Cole, what do you think about what happened in that situation or circumstance?
Well, you know, my thing was, you know, you put this guy in a bad situation, you know, from day one for me. You know, you get rid of a coach in Dooley because they were playing bad, and then you hire a coach on the staff, which was a part of them playing. I mean, I don't know what else that you could have expected. I thought Coach Graves stepped in and did a great job last year. Of course, we know Flood, going back and looking at that season, like Rocky always say, he had a rabbit's feet, the lucky charm man. I mean, that happens only once in a lifetime, that you win that many games on last second plays, bad decisions by the other team. You know, but then again, that's a knock on, you know, who's holding these head jobs at the SWAC. I could say that.
Yeah.
Because we come out this year and, you know, we get the Southern bandwagon. It's the national championship or bus. And they forgot who's driving the bus. This guy's still working on a CDL license, you know, and I think when you do that, it's almost just like the Dallas Cowboys. I got a guy on this show now. He's a Cowboy fan right over there. Man, it's Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl. You know, because they're hearing Jerry Jones, who's not a coach, who's a businessman.
Cowboys out of this, man.
And he's not a coach. He doesn't understand the day-to-day operations of what's going on, personalities and everything. And that's why it gets upset at me, Flood, when we run off and throw people in these positions, but just because you know, they've watched TV or they caught a couple passes to be able to say, you know, they can come in and get this position. So I think it was set up from day one. I know Coach Terence got upset at me last year because I said he was the best. You know, he was the best. Not necessarily Southern is the best of the worst team over there in the West. Because, you know, Flood, you've been around this game long as I had. You know, the West Side is definitely been having some issues and some problems. Yeah. So anyway, And the reason why I told Rocky them when they asked me, I never been in a situation where the AD and them bringing me in saying, man, you need to let this guy call the plays, or we need to throw the ball down the football field long enough. I don't even know how they could even get in there. That's how bad it probably was.
Oh, that is how bad. I mean, because you probably never been in a situation where you were 1-6 and you wasn't scoring but 12 points a game. Those are the type of things that happen when you're 1-6 and you scoring 12 points a game.
Right. Exactly. So to me, that was writing on the wall to say, man, this was it. Unless you start turning around and start winning. I mean, and this problem was an internal problem. It wasn't like they were killing it the year before either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've worked there. I've coached, I've worked there at Southern University under the great Pete Richardson. And, we took a football team that had 20 seniors on it and, actually went off and won the national championship our first year. You know when you got good players. As a head coach, as a coaching staff, you know when you got good players. And when you got good players, you can do that talking, because the program can only carry you for so long. Or great players can only carry you you need both ingredients for a championship season. And I just didn't see that. Anytime you're struggling at the quarterback position, anytime you're struggling, you don't have no run game, it's going to be tough for you to say that we are that team. We are, as the young folks said, we are him. That wasn't the case there in that situation.
Yeah. And to Coach Graves' defense, he never had his number one quarterback play for him. I think his number one quarterback maybe played 12 plays this year, because the first game he set out for missing the bus. The next game he gets a season-ending concussion. And so he was playing musical chairs with his quarterback. You had 4 offensive linemen who returned that was on what was supposed to be a veteran offensive line who turned out not to be that good of an offensive line. You would think with the 4 offensive linemen returning, Trey Holly transferring in, you put Jalen Woods in the mix. On paper, it looks like a decent offensive team. But in actuality, they scored 12 points a game.
And you saying that the quarterback missed the bus and he missed the season?
Well, remember the first game against North Carolina Central in Atlanta, the quarterback missed the bus leaving the campus. He missed the bus. He had to meet the team in Auburn, Alabama. So he didn't play the first game. Jalen Woods didn't play the first game.
I got you.
So then the next game he started against Valley, which is the only win. But remember, he's sliding, he gets hit in the head. They have to cart him off the field, and Jalen Woods hasn't played since.
Wow.
That was his second or third concussion in less than a year. And so I know it was at least his second. From the records, it says it was actually his third concussion in less than a year. So Jalen Woods is now out for the year.
Wow.
He hadn't played since then. So, your guy who was supposed to be your package quarterback comes in, and now he's your starter. He isn't working out because he doesn't really fit the system, the everyday system. And then so you go to a third string guy who got in the camp 2 weeks before the season started.
I'm gonna say this. I went and seen you guys play against North Carolina Central, and I seen both kids play that game. And I don't want to start nothing. First of all, ain't no way in hell I'm leaving my quarterback anywhere. Hey, look, I am serious. I remember we were leaving to go out of town, and my quarterback was starting Elvin Nelson. So I'm the last one to get on the bus. And so they said, Coach, Arvell ain't here. So, I have a team here. I said, let me tell you something. We're going to leave. If he ain't here, damn it, we leaving. I went up in my office and started finding shit to do. I said, y'all better go around there and go get this boy and put this boy on the bus.
Well, that's what they say. They called for him, looked for him, delayed the bus and everything else, but he had just crossed Kappa. They had just come out the Wednesday before. They were leaving out that Thursday. And he had decided to kick it with his frat brother. That's what was said. I don't know if that's true or not. Yeah, that's what was said. But apparently they couldn't find him. Once they found him, they got him. He met him in Auburn. But Coach Graves' decision was to, not play him in that game. He was there, but he didn't play.
The thing about it, when I know a bunch of the guys on the coaching staff. I just didn't see a guy that was a quarterback coach on that staff. And I seen two extremely good athletes. I thought the McCoy kid could run like the wind. I seen him throw some deep balls. I know some people said he can't hit the ocean with a beach ball. Then I'm gonna have to find some other ball to make sure he can get it to the people. I just thought his skills and the other kid. I thought both of them had the physical skills,
yes,
to be more productive than they showed. You know what I mean? Again, I ain't in their camp. I think that that hurt them when that position is not right, man. It's hard winning a conference championship.
Hard winning period when you don't have a stable quarterback. I mean, at least a guy who won't lose the games for you. At least somebody who can manage the game for you, and they haven't had that the whole season. Even with Cam McCoy, Cam can do some things even though he's limited. But when you put a quarterback who's limited inside an offense that's already limited, which we know, like you said, the year before it was limited, so it's even more limited now. And you put a guy with limited abilities, like you say, he can run, he can do some things, but if he couldn't consistently get the ball to his receivers, teams started taking away that run, and it became a one-dimensional offense, even more one-dimensional. So,
what I didn't get, Flood, was you got a kid from LSU. Now the Southerns of Pete Richardson with a Sharp back in the backfield.
Yeah, Jermaine
from
Sharp.
LSU, and the other kid they got out of I think either Seattle. What is Melvin?
Now Melvin was from Melvin. Williams was from Donaldsonville. You think about they might be talking about Steve Wofford from California.
Yeah. But Sharp from Southern. Then they get the Holly kid from LSU just this past year. And the first half of the season, he wasn't even touching the ball over 10 times a game.
Yeah.
I'm saying you got the number one tailback probably in the league. He got to get the ball 20 times. It's just like the kid from Alabama State with pros. What's his name? God dang, it just crossed my Cromwell. Played at Alabama State. Shit, he damn near took them all the way to the championship, just giving him the ball. I didn't see that. I didn't see them saying, okay, we got a problem with our quarterback throwing for. Then we're going to have to get in some run formations, and we're going to have to get his ball to this guy for him to carry us. I didn't see that. I didn't see us revolving around what we need to do to win football games. What happened to the defense end, the Russian?
He's still there, but when you don't have anybody, when your other three defensive linemen aren't that good, and you don't really, the other members of the defense aren't really doing anything, he's still there. He has 7 sacks this year. I think it's 10 or 11 tackles for loss. He's still right there doing his thing, but now he's getting double or triple team, but nobody else on the other side is making plays.
Now Flood, when Dooley was unceremoniously let go, right, and Terence Graves was hired, first off, I want to say thank you in this regard. You, Coach Cole, Coach Mr. Campbell, y'all have given me, I know I've only been here 5 years, but y'all have given me a SWAC education that I think gives me some context about what this league is all about in the history of the game. And your lives that you would do after the game or after announcement that Southern would make would kind of give me context, and you would explain why decisions were made within the Southern framework. One of the things that after Terence Graves was hired, you pointed this out very, very early. You said, hey, and all of us have a little gray in our beard other than Campbell, so I don't think you were being prejudiced when you said this. You said, hey, I'm concerned about the age of the staff because recruiting is the lifeblood of college football, and do 50-year-old men want to get out there and recruit the way that they have to nowadays in order to put together a competitive team. Now, this was 2 years ago you made this statement. How much do you think that contributed to what actually
a lot? And Rocky, you're being nice, because actually what I said is that they look like Fred, Bubba, and Grady when they walk out on the field. That's actually what I said. They look like Sanford and Son when they walked out on the field. They look like they was about to start chatting. We want the 3 degrees out there, but that's really what I said. But I mean,
I was being nice. I was being nice.
Yeah, you were being nice. But I think that did play a part in it, man, because like in talking to recruits and talking to people around the program, there was a age gap, you know, in terms of relating to young players, relating to young men or young people, whether it was the guys on the team or recruiting. That was.
Oh, hey, they might have cut on Flood because he was getting to the good part. So hopefully he may be having some issues. I saw him drop. But Cole, Coach Cole, we're gonna wait on him, but we can just he's back.
There we go.
Hold on. Sorry, Flood, my apologies.
There we go. We having some internet issues over here in New Orleans. So
okay.
But yeah, I was saying that you know, they were a little long in the tooth. I mean, you know, all of them. I'm a man in my 50s. I know how it feels, you know, and I consider myself a young 50-something-year-old man. And you know, those guys, that was nothing about them, just the presentation. And I don't like to judge people on their looks, but let's be real. The presentation matters. There was nothing in their presentation that said, hey, we ready to get out here and go get us some players. You know what I'm saying? We ready to go out here and hit the road. You know, we ready to go out here and make this thing happen. You know, it was nothing about them that said that. And I think that same thing came over to parents and the young people that they were recruiting, and the same thing with the team. I think they had a hard time relating. I think they thought that they related to the team, but I don't think they actually did have that kind of connection, because like Coach Cole can speak, and anybody who's played a team sport, there's a certain kind of connection that you have, especially with your coach. Your team takes on the personality of your coach. At least good teams do. Well, now I won't even say good teams. Teams, period, take on the personality of that coach in a lot of cases.
Yeah, you also said something else, Flood. You said, now this is going back 2 years ago. You said, hey, let's be honest. If a guy is getting his first head coaching job in his 50s, what does that say about him as a coach his entire career? Because most hotshot coaches get their opportunity in their late 30s, early 40s. And so when you hire a guy in his 50s, you have to ask the question, why hasn't he been a head coach?
Yeah, not a head coach, and not even an experienced coordinator. Like, you know, I mean, and that was some of the questions that were asked and were continued to be asked, because Coach Graves I think he was a coordinator maybe 1 or 2 years. I think he was a coordinator at Norfolk for 1 year, and I'm not even sure if he was a coordinator when he was at Valley, but he wasn't excuse me?
I think he was at Valley for a year.
Yeah, but even if that was just 2 years as a coordinator over a 30-year career, you're not even a really experienced coordinator. And then at 53 years old, you get your first head coaching job.
Right.
You know, you gotta take a look at that.
Well, let me say this, because I've been a head coach before. You know, my guy, I don't think necessarily the age got to do with it, as more so as like you said, the persona of who is the guy. If you look back at all the NCAA championships, those head coaches are 60, up in the 50s and 60s. Of course, you do got to have some some staff that's ready to run and go out and get some kids. My only issue with what you said was, if you get a job at IBM or somewhere, do you adjust to the job or do the job adjust to you? You have to make these kids adjust to you. You got to bring the standard up, brother, about relating to the kids. I mean, again, you know what's right, and they just want information to do what you have to do for them to get where they want to get, and you got to be able to give them that information. I know some of the guys on the coaching staff, and it is right. It's the way you carry yourself. It's the swag that you have, and that's important. That's important, for some of these young kids. But I think the standard of the program, I think how you run a program, making sure that everybody understands on the program that the buck stops here. There's only one way we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it this way. And you got to make sure that every coach is on the same page. And sometimes when you hire these kind of guys, first-time guys, and they go out and hire the wrong staff, then this is what you get. I mean, when you look at the boy over at Delaware State and Michael Vick, the difference is the coaching staff.
Yes.
Both of them are great NFL football players, but it's the coaching staff that makes the difference. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
And you got to know as a head coach, when you get there, when you hire your boy got to understand that when we pull up to that office, I'm now your boss. I'm not your boy no more. I'm your boss. And if you don't get – and this is an egotistical business, man. And that's why when you're choosing these head coaches, and then they're running out and going to get their boy, or they don't have the access to other coaches and find out what it takes to win. In a program like Southern, y'all don't need to go out and hire another guy that's trying to get a job for the first year again, a head coaching guy. Y'all need a guy that knows. Y'all got everything. You got fans, you got fan base, you got a stadium, you got playing one of the major football games in college football. You guys need a guy that's ready to hit the floor and run it. Pete Richardson was ready to hit the floor and run it.
Yeah.
And I was a part of that staff, and I've seen it grow. Of course, I went on.
Coach, how old were you when you were on that staff, Coach?
I was 30. 29, 30, somewhere in there. Because I remember I just got married. So,
and how old was Orlando and some of those other guys?
They were older than me. They were in their 40s. They was up in their 40s. Yeah. They were but I think even with you pointing out Pete Richardson as an example, he may have been a more mature coach, but he brought the young guys to the party with him. But it was like you said, at 54, when Pete got the job, he had been a head coach, he had been a coordinator, he had worked up underneath some great,
I mean, he came there as being a championship level coach at Winston-Salem. Right. Yeah, he had been a defense coordinator. He had been a championship level coach at Winston-Salem. So he wasn't coming into this new to the game. He knew what it was, and he brought coaches, an eclectic group of coaches. Like Coach Cole was 30, Coach Orlando in his 40s. They were a mixed group of coaches.
See, Orlando had been a coordinator. I had been a coordinator. Fred Keiss had worked at Moore State. Everybody knows Fred Keiss now, went on to the XFL. We had Sherman Simmons, who had been with them at Winston-Salem State. We had Cliff Yoshida, who had worked at Wake Forest and that did a coordinator's job at Eastern Carolina. So, we had guys that were ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Flood, and this is the last thing I'll say about that. He haven't any of these, but Flood said something that resonated with me 2 years ago, and he said this: when you've been doing something he said this, and this is the last thing I'll mention. He said, if you've been doing something for 30 years and at 50 years old, you're willing to join the staff making $50,000, how good do you believe you are as a coach? And that's the thing that resonated with me, Flood. As you know, I'm not a coach, but I have been in my career around 30.
Holiday Inn.
I've been in my field for a while.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, things got to be pretty bad if you got a guy that's been doing something 30 years and he's willing to accept the $50,000 salary for what he does. And that's what and that's when I said, wow, he got a point. He has a point. Because if a guy makes 50 and he's willing to accept that, he doesn't think very much of,
Yeah, he's in some kind of desperation mode in a lot of cases.
Well, yeah, when you're looking from outside. When you look for inside, coaches don't coach mascots. They love the game of football. And the thing, and the problem is that when you get to these HBCU schools, they don't want to pay their assistant coaches. They'll give a head coach of $400,000. How can one coach, the head coach, make $400,000 and his staff making $45,000? That don't even make sense.
Why would you? The question is, why would you work for a guy like that?
Because one, I want to coach football. Two, I might be at that time getting my Social Security or getting another check from the outside to put both of it together so I can coach. You see what I'm saying? So some coaches that's probably older than 50.
These are full-time coaches, Coach Cole.
That's what I'm saying. But they getting the Social Security check or they getting the disability check to add to that.
Not as a full-time coach. Not as a full-time employee.
There's coaches that got wives that make money.
Now that may be the case.
Just holding things down while I'm coaching. I mean, where else you gonna get them from, Go? What's the difference from the young guy making 50 and the older guy making 50?
Oh, a big difference.
50.
Yeah, but it's a big difference.
You still gotta get an apartment.
Making $50,000 as a young coach at 27, 28 years old on the come up, on the rise, is a big difference for being 55, 56, 57 years old, making $50,000 coaching. Your career is at the end. And you still, there's a big, big difference in that, Coach.
We can talk, Coach. I get what you saying at regular jobs, but I don't get that what you saying as being a football coach, because that just ain't the truth. Look at all the Division II schools. At Lane College, I was only making $75,000. Hell, I was in my 40s then, and then I was paying coaches $25,000, $35,000.
Coach, that was
I guarantee you, we bring coaches on this staff, these Division II and Division I coaches, y'all would be amazed at how much money these guys
I wouldn't be, but that coach, we're talking about Division II. I get that. But when we're talking about Division I football, and you're talking about
in black college.
But let me tell you something. FCS level HBCUs pay on average higher than their FCS counterparts. See, that's what I'm saying. When we start talking comparisons, let's compare them to the peer schools. Let's compare Southern to McNeese. Let's compare Southern to Southeastern Louisiana. We're not comparing them. We're not comparing them to the LMs and the schools like that. We're comparing them to let's compare to the peer schools. And salary-wise, including assistants, the HBCUs are on par or above par their FCS counterparts.
Are we saying the money is bad, or are we saying because the guy accepts the money, he must be a bad coach?
I'm saying it's a little bit of both.
You got to get in here and say, because you the man with the plan. What does it say about a guy who's 50 years old, been coaching 30 years, and he's not he's not a coordinator. He's a position guy, and he's willing to accept $50,000, $60,000 as a salary for something he's been doing 30 years.
I need to get on the phone and call a coach in here to let y'all know, man, y'all are far off, man. And these HBCU schools, man, $50,000.
But it's not an HBCU thing, Coach. That's why when you look at the staffs of places like Southeastern or McNeese or Nicholls State, you see a bunch of coaches who are under 45 who are as the assistants. You don't see a bunch of older people on their staff because the older coaches are either moving on, either they're moved on. If their reputation isn't that good, they're gone down to D2 or they moved on to high school or somewhere like that. You don't see if you look on these staffs or a lot of these FCS Division I programs where the coaches are making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. You don't see a lot of older coaches on those staffs. You see a lot of young guys who are on the come up, who are still hungry.
I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue that point, but I will argue the point that because a coach is older and he's accepted a job making $50,000, don't mean that he's a bad coach.
No, that's not what I'm saying, Coach. But you can agree that he's not demanding a salary of what a elite coach would demand, right?
Right, but if he wants to coach, if he wants to continue coaching at that age,
guys who can coach, guys who that can really coach, I don't think they try to. Anyway, I don't want to make this about the 50,000, but I think as a coach or whatever it is, whatever your career is, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get what you're worth.
I disagree with that at these HBCU schools. I'm just saying because that's where I've been in. That's what I know. There ain't nobody getting no great salaries at these places. And here's the other thing that I think you guys need to take into consideration. You get a block of money to pay your assistants, all right? To be able to have what you need, you got to be able to break that down. And you got to be able to find those guys who will take that money to either continue to coach to move on or to have all the positions that you need to have a successful program. I've seen it. I've done it. Now, whether he's 50, I hired a guy when I was in Lane. I couldn't have been paying him Flood $40,000, $42,000. This was back in mid 2000s. $42,000 offensive line coach. You know, because we couldn't pay him because we're not getting the dollars that we need.
Okay, well today, what is that coach making today? That same offensive line coach, where is he and what he's making?
He was an older guy. I don't even think he even coaching anymore. I'm not sure.
So I guess my point is, and we can move on from this. I don't want to belabor this. I just think I thought Flood brought up a good point that if you are a hot shot coach, if you're a guy that's elite in your craft, you're the first one that knows that, and you will demand a certain salary that is commensurate with your skill level. That's all I was simply saying. But I like I say, Flood. But I also wanted to bring up this, Flood. You are one of the, I guess, in the inaugural season of SWAC TV, you're one of the guys who have called live games for SWAC TV. Can you
very first football game on there?
Oh man, can you tell me about that experience and what you think? If you know where SWAC TV is going?
SWAC, I'm telling you, man, the ceiling is unlimited for SWAC TV. It could go into a lot of places. I know the ultimate goal is to have SEC type network for the SWAC, a SWAC network with SWAC. That's the ultimate goal. But and as we've gone through this inaugural season, you've seen the broadcasts get better. Less glitches, less things are going on in terms of the technical aspect of it. I think we have a good group of talent that calls the games and stuff. They try to keep it entertaining. And as it becomes a better production, which we've seen it happen week after week, the production has gotten better. I think the limit is unlimited where SWAC TV can go. And I love to see the day when there is a SWAC network you can get the SWAC network on your cable, right there, channel 80, 85, right after the 82 is the SEC network and 84 is the ACC and the 85 is the SWAC network on all your cable services, channel. So
I want to congratulate you too, man. I tell you, that's one of my best channels on Sunday, man. It gives me an opportunity to wake up in the morning and catch all the SWAC games. And the only thing I ask is, do they? I think some people don't realize that you could just pull it up, as an app.
Yes.
And I don't know if they're doing it. If they promoted a little more of you can get SWAC TV, or they might are because I'm way over here in Arizona. But because a lot of my friends are like, man, what you doing? I said, I'm watching SWAC TV. What you mean? I said, well, you can get it on your own
Yeah,
TV.
you can pull it up on Roku. You can pull it up as an app on your smart TV, on your smartphone, on any of your devices. You can you can pull it up, SWAC TV.
I mean, that's big time, man. I take my hat off to the commissioner and the SWAC as a whole, man. That could be really, really, really helpful financially, right, for the conference.
Yes, and that's the point, to be able to give another platform for advertisers, for sponsors. You know, as many platforms as you can give them, then they want them, and that's more that the SWAC can sell it. A better way for the SWAC to sell itself and to sell its advertisers and stuff. So you know, it's a smart move.
My understanding is the more people get the app and get those numbers up, the more now you can go out and get commercials and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, more advertisers, more sponsors you can bring in. You know, all about the eye, who's watching, how many people are hitting that app, you know, and then that's when the advertising dollars, that's when the sponsorship dollars come in. So that's the key. Everybody download the app, and then eventually, you know, that can evolve into so many other things.
As talent, are you guys privy to any analytic data as talent on the channel?
Yes, so some of us are. So you know, we can get that data if we ask for it.
Because I was wondering, one of the complaints, I guess, that people are having is that they have games scheduled simultaneously, and it almost seems like if they were working on a network schedule, they would stagger the games where it would be, you know, one game at a time. And the reason why I was saying that, do you know when they're having games scheduled all at one time, does the analytics justify that, or do you think a staggered schedule would improve that?
That I can't tell you about the analytics, because I don't really know. I don't really know what's the reasoning for that. I think part of it too, maybe because of the way it was brought about, is really the school driven in a lot of cases. So they're not. It hadn't gotten to the point where they can start making adjustments or telling schools where to make adjustments in their timing of the schedule. It's the school. It's basically what they're doing is saying, we're going to show the game where the school has it scheduled at this point. That may change next season. That may change sometime in the near future, where they're actually going and they're scheduling. We're going to have a 12 o'clock game. We're going to have a 3 o'clock game, and we're going to have a 6 o'clock game. But the effort is for every SWAC game, every SWAC broadcast, because the thing I want people to understand is not just football that's being broadcast. There's volleyball, there's bowling. All SWAC sports are broadcast on SWAC TV.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know, I had an opportunity to work with HBCU TV Go, and I was just asking, you know, we had a production team to put everything, but you know, when you said, of course, I'm seeing everybody is on SWAC. Do you guys have that, or they run it from the campus?
No, we have a production team. It's three. Matter of fact, it's 3 separate production teams that runs the broadcast.
Right. So y'all do 3 games a weekend.
It's every SWAC game that's not either on a network, on a major network, or every SWAC game that isn't on HBCU Go or one of the other networks by contract. Every other SWAC game is on SWAC TV.
Right. Okay. They run everything from the trucks.
So
yeah, everything is on SWAC TV.
So Reggie, I noticed that you were in Huntsville last week.
Yes.
You were in Itabita earlier in the year.
Yep.
Are they doing it? Are they doing it by region? Or are they scheduling you guys because you live in a certain footprint, or because it seems like the same guys do the TSU Prairie View games, and then the guys that.
Well, that's the luxury of being the boss. That's like the other same guys doing pretty much the same guys doing the Texas games, because that's where the boss lives. The guy who is our programmer, the great Butch Alcindor, he lives in Houston. He's a Houston guy, so that's why and he actually started out as Texas Southern's play-by-play, and
Right.
that was as their television broadcast team. So that's his home team. So that's why you pretty much see them doing most of the Texas Southern games. But for guys like me who are, I get in where I fit in. So I've been to Alcorn and been to Lorman. I've been to Mississippi Valley, like you said, and this week I was in Huntsville.
And is do you still have games scheduled this year?
No, I don't have any more scheduled right as of now.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any more scheduled.
So you're going to basketball season as well, right?
That's what I'm hoping to move on to basketball. I haven't gotten word on that yet, but I'm hoping to.
I got you.
But that's cool, man. Again, it was funny because you didn't make a big announcement about being on SWAC TV. I just tuned into a game and recognized your voice. Was that on purpose? Did they ask you guys not to do that, or?
No, that was by my choice. I just, sometimes you have to be quiet and just let things play out. Sometimes you have to make noise. So, that was one of those things I was quiet about.
Yeah.
You thought he was gonna bum out, man.
I was never worried about that, Coach. That's one thing y'all never have to worry about. When it comes to this TV and this radio, you'll never have to worry about me bombing out on that. If I can do one thing, I'm cute and I can talk. So I ain't worried about bombing out. I'm handsome and I can talk, Coach. So now I'm not gonna bomb out doing that.
See, this is what we need. He needs to be the head coach of Southern.
So last thing before we get out of here, Flood, man, because we gotta have it. I know you're on a short time, but I was gonna get you to give me the history of brawls in the SWAC, but I'll let Coach Cole give us the history of brawls. But I did want to talk about what is the profile of the next Southern coach? Like, in my opinion, I'll just give you quickly my opinion. My opinion that Southern is not the job that a guy should be learning how to be a head coach on. He should come in that he has a plan that's already been executed and he already knows that it works. With that being said, what is the profile of the guy that will be the next Southern coach, in your opinion?
In my opinion, I think it's going to be a guy who is a championship level coach or coordinator already, somebody who is up and coming, who is somebody who is willing to get out on the road and recruit and go get players, somebody who is experienced but not over the hill. You get what I'm saying? Somebody who's experienced, who's still a go-getter, who's a championship level coach, or at least a coordinator. But I'm thinking right now it's probably going to be someone who is already a head coach. In my opinion, this is my opinion on it, I think Southern should just play bully ball. Just go in and take somebody's coach. If they're willing to listen, just go in and take somebody's coach. That's what I think.
Now, the reality is with that profile that you just mentioned, there's only a few guys that qualify. And I can name the 4 guys that qualify right now. Chennis Berry, Trey Oliver, Tremaine Jackson, and TC Taylor. Are you saying that, in your opinion, they should look at not those guys, but guys like those guys and just take their coach?
Yep. Yep.
You're going to have some upset fan bases.
I mean, that's what I think.
Wow.
Go and get you some guys, get you 3 or 4 guys that you can focus on who are championship level coaches who've shown they can win. Go out there, and if they're willing to talk, get them.
Now I know you're not a big celebrity coach guy, and that's how I started following your content, because you were the ones after Dion was announced the head coach, you were the ones that were openly thought it was going to be an abject failure, and you thought it wasn't going to work in the SWAC. Turns out, we all know how that turned out.
Yeah, he won games. He came in and he did what he said he was going to do, no doubt. But my thing wasn't about him being a failure on the field. I thought he would have success. My thing was about the long-term effect of somebody like Dion and having this experiment over and over again, trying to recapture that and the effect that it have on HBCU football. Because I felt like Dion to me is like Donald Trump. he's a cult of personality. And I think we've seen that. And it's hard to capture that, someone can't recapture that when someone's a cult of personality. He's Deion Sanders. He brought his own quarterback. Like somebody said, he brought his own quarterback. He had the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame career, but not just the Hall of Fame career. He was still in the face of young people. He was still selling. He was still out there. He was still, he still had the swag. So he brought a superstar level to Jackson State. And he brought that cult of personality with him, and it worked out for Jackson State. Hey, Ashley Robinson threw the Hail Mary, and it worked. He is literally the Doug Flutie of athletic directors. He is literally the Doug Flutie of athletic directors.
You're talking about Campbell's homeboy, so I'm gonna step back.
And that's no disrespect to Ashley, but we know Doug Flutie because Doug Flutie threw the Hail Mary. We know Ashley Robinson because he took a chance. Right now, we could freshen up the language and say he stepped out. He thought outside of the box. He took a chance. He went out. He got there. But the fact was, it was a Hail Mary that worked. And kudos to him because his work done wonders for Jackson State. So shouts out to him. But I don't think that you can keep throwing Hail Marys and expecting them to work. I think that you have to really put some thought into it and really put some effort. And we've seen, I think, though, the foundation Ashley Robinson laid, Prime was able to build on that foundation that he laid. And then now we're seeing that flourish for Jackson State with TC Taylor. But I think Ashley Robinson is the one who actually laid the foundation for Coach Prime to be successful. Or should I say Coach Sanders to be successful?
Hey, Campbell, I know you had a couple things you wanted to talk to Flood about before you got out of here.
Well, I'm going to tell you what's funny. And Flood, I know we're all around the same age, but see, my problem with that Doug Flutie analogy about known for the Hail Mary, Doug Flutie won a Heisman. So one play did not make his career. And he was a great player. I agree with you. You make that point, because I agree with you. So wait a minute, hold on. Now, you did your Southern say, I'm about to bring this back. Because while you say one play, and that's what he's known for, I would say Ashley Robinson's career set him up to be able to make a decision like that because he made another decision with Willie Simmons and see how that kind of turned out. So when you kind of know what you're doing, you know when to call the right play and who to call it for. So while you might think it's a Hail Mary, I might think you know what you're doing because what you guys have been doing is the old way, and it damn sure ain't been working out. So maybe you might need to try to Hail Mary down in Southern.
I agree. You don't have to come at me, baby. I know you're trying to make a show, but you don't have to come at me. I agree with you. It's like you took one part of what I said to make your point without listening to everything else that I said. Well, no, I know. The Deion Sanders hire was in fact a Hail Mary. You went and hired a guy who had never coached, who had barely been a high school coordinator, and that was a Hail Mary. That's not saying that wasn't a calculated decision. A lot of times, Hail Marys are calculated decisions. Doug Flutie did win a Heisman, but nobody knows Doug Flutie as the Heisman guy. They know him as the Hail Mary guy. Doug Flutie was a great player. That's why he won the Heisman. But nobody remembers that. They remember that Doug Flutie threw the Hail Mary to Gerald Phelan. But that's not a bad thing. It worked. No. See, that's what I'm saying. You're not listening to me. The person that made the decision was Ashley Robinson, not Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders did just show up. The AD was the one that did it. I agree with you. Okay. I agree. Like I said, Ashley laid the foundation. Ashley laid the foundation for Coach Sanders to be successful. Right. That's what I said.
So what my point is when, and this is what you said, because I did hear you, is when you make it minimize, because that's what you did to Doug Flutie. You minimize his career to one pass. That's what you did.
Well, I didn't minimize, but that's what people know him for.
But that's not why he won the Heisman. He won the Heisman because he had a great season.
I agree with you, but that's not what people know him for. I agree with you.
No, it's fine. But I did want to bring up something because I am about to ask you a question. Because I like you and I see something. So I'm getting ready to share my screen, right? And I want you to address something because I saw something that you said, and I want to get clarity because I am a Floyd and Rattler.
Yes.
My daughter went to Bethune, and you made a question. I'm gonna pull this up, and I want you to explain this so I don't get misinterpreted. You know what I'm saying? Because I was getting in my feelings a little bit when I saw this. Hold on 1 second. And this, I think this is so. So this is your podcast, Inside the Game. This is what you do every week. I'm assuming.
Yeah, this is the weekly show.
Okay, great. So I watched this great show. Okay, let's see here. All right, there we go. So we're getting ready to play this, and this is a question that was asked about the commissioner and what kind of job he was doing. Okay, and this is what you said. And
is this the SWAC commissioner?
Yeah,
yes,
the SWAC commissioner.
They asked me about the SWAC commissioner.
They
I know
what
he's about to play.
Yeah, you know what I'm about to play. Here we go.
Overall, just as a commissioner, how do you think he's doing? And the fight just always adds to like people talking about his job. So I'm just wondering from your perspective.
I think he's doing an excellent job as a commissioner. And I think the only people who have issue with how he does it's three groups of people. The two teams who just joined the SWAC, who they cry about everything, and we all know who the third one is. I won't even call his name, but I don't take him seriously. But I think the commissioner is doing an excellent job. I think that he has some missteps maybe, but that's a part of it. That's literally a part of the job. He's literally creating something.
All right. So I saw that, right?
Right.
And I'm trying to figure out, because I went to FAMU. I'm a SWAC guy. I was the person who was very excited to come SWAC. I need to know when Bethune-Cookman and FAMU been crying about the commissioner.
Man, FAMU fans cry. Not you in particular, because you're a SWAC guy. You've been around the SWAC. But a lot of FAMU fans cry and moan about the commissioner.
Like, about what, Flood? Exactly what? About
any why the commissioner suspend the announcer? Why the commissioner do this? Why it's always something. Like it's always something. And you know what? And I'll say this: it may not be a vast majority of FAMU fans, but like with any fan base, it's always going to be the squeaky wheel that gets noticed. It's always going to be the vocal minority who gets noticed.
So let me get this straight. So we've been in SWAC 5 years. 5 years.
Right.
And because he suspended a guy for 2 games that made a bad joke, but didn't suspend players for 1 year. But we complained about the commissioner. One time makes us complain about the commissioner. Now, Flood, come on now.
I'm not just talking about one thing. And like I said, it's a small minority of fans who make the most noise about complaints about just the conference in general. And it's a small minority.
Let me ask you a question. The person that was left to be not named, okay? So, because you didn't want to name, so we won't name. But I'm just curious if somebody, because I think there's a difference between criticizing the commissioner and making a critique. Because I give you an example, because he saw what I said. And I know you know this. I'm going to ask you a question. There was a discussion about them having a SWAC classic between Southern, Jack State, and Birmingham.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
And he made this thing. And I said on wax, that ain't happening. I said Jack State is not going to go to Birmingham, and Southern not going to go to Birmingham. We didn't go home and home. Guess what y'all end up doing? Going home and home. Now, people might say that's a criticism. When people go back and say, how much are we making from ESPN, and we need to create our own channel, guess what? You working for that channel that people said 3 or 4 years ago, which is a good idea. So yeah. I guess what I was just wondering, because when I heard it, and I guess because you're so influential, that's what caught my eye. Because when you said FAMU, and I'm like, hold on, we've been here 5 years, we ain't said number one thing about a guy, and you saying there's 2 schools. Now, see, to me, that's some shade. I want you to clear it up. I want you to come on this show.
Ain't nothing to clear up. I said what I said, and I stand on it.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Well, let me just let you know, because I know y'all go past that Mississippi River. Y'all don't do anything east. One discussion don't make us not like the commissioner.
I didn't say y'all didn't like it. I said,
well, no, you said the 2 schools and the one guy that left to be named. That's what you said. So I just want to put that out there. So just be clear, because because you know why this is important, and it's all fun and games. But when I saw that, we've been here 5 years. We ain't said nothing about the commissioner other than what you get. People have their right to say he suspended Joe Bullock for 2 games. We got people that have fights got suspended for 1 game. So that's what people were saying, especially during the time. So I just wanted you to clear it up. I gave you your.
I'll just say this: there's a guy who he's no longer with us, that he has some strong critiques of the commissioner as well. And he was a FAMU guy.
I just went. He just went. What it was funny when he put, but and Paul Bethune there don't say nothing about nobody, and then he throw Bethune-Cookman in there. Come on, Flood. Come on, man. So Flood, all right. Let me get you one thing because we did not address this, and because I know you got to go. Rocky talked about the profile of the coach, but here's the confusion, and I want you to answer this because the whole thing when Terence Graves got the job. Now your AD said this. Well, we don't have the money. That was one of his quotes about why he hired Terence Graves. So is it about the money? Is it about the politics? Because I heard you guys got the same thing like in Florida. You got a board and they are very involved when hiring and things like that. What is going to be the ultimate decision? Who's going to be the ultimate decision maker? Is it going to be money? Is it going to be the AD or is it going to be the board?
Well, money wasn't so much a factor in the Graves hire. I don't know about the AD's quote on money because what actually happened with Graves, the three guys who they actually offered it to got better offers. One chose to stay where he was, and Graves was the guy who was left. You know, he kind of put him off to the side just in case. So they knew that they could get Graves for a cheaper price. Because, I mean, even with the money, Graves is still making $250,000 a year as the head coach. So, you know, I don't know how much money played a part in it, but I don't think money is going to be an issue in this case. I don't think hiring a new head coach, and in terms of the politics of it, I mean, hell, you could look at what just happened on the national scene with LSU and let you know the kind of politics we're working with in Louisiana.
Well, that's what I'm familiar. Wait, Coach. One more thing, because I'm going to this is more of a tease. I sent this to Coach and them, and I want to get your opinion about that. Flood, you're not from New Orleans, are you? Are you from New Orleans?
No, I live in New Orleans, but
okay, you live in okay. Well, your state homeboy, Cordell Stewart, has come out publicly saying that he wants to be a coach. Now, we all know Cordell is from the New Orleans metro area. Do you think that would be a job that people, if Cordell said out publicly that he wanted to coach at Southern, that people at Southern would be excited about that?
They'd ask, who the hell is Cordell Stewart? that would be the first question. I mean, I've met him once, twice. Dude, he's never been somebody that really moved around in our community like that. You know, so that would be the first thing. I mean, he would have to familiarize himself with the fan base, and the fan base would have to familiarize themselves with him for that to even be a remote possibility. But I don't know. You know, I don't know. That will be my opinion of it.
Okay. Well, you know, the other name is Marshall Falk. Has been that for the last 5 years. But Coach, I know some folks real personal down there at Southern University. I never heard of Braves making $250, and my understanding is they got problems paying the coaches. They got problems with recruiting money. Are you saying that's not true at all?
Man, Graves was made. That's public knowledge that Graves is making $250. Like we're a state institution. Like the contracts are public knowledge. He's making $250 a year. That's not even a debate. But
and they were still paying Dooley his $3.
Yeah, they paid Dooley off
$500,000 to 2 guys.
Yeah, they paid Dooley off in installments. You know, and a lot of times, Coach, let me tell you something. You've been around here, man. A lot of times people just talk to be talking. You know, I actually, believe it or not, I actually go do some research before I get out here and talk.
Right.
So, but yeah, they pay Coach Dooley off in installments, and if I'm not mistaken, from what I was told from some members of the board administration, that his installments have been paid off. Coach Graves is making $250 a year. I think Southern has come to the realization.
Well, what was the coordinators making, Coach?
Well, see, that's what I was about to get to. The coordinators were right around 90 and 95, if I remember correctly, looking at the list. They were making about 90 and 95. I think that Southern has come to the realization that not only we're going to have to pay a head coach, but your coaching, your assistants pool is going to have to – you're going to have to start paying your coordinators around 120, 125 for offensive and defensive coordinators. And then kind of, you know, your grad assistants, or I think they're limited earnings, but your lowest coaches on the totem pole are probably going to be the ones coming in around between 62 and 65.
Yeah, they oust the limited coaching, paying coaching. They oust that. But I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Now, Flood, before I get you out of here, man, has pocket watching always been part of HBCU football?
Oh, yeah, man.
That's everywhere.
Yeah. It's like you said, SEC, they've been pocket watching Brian Kelly. You know what I'm saying? It just is what it is, man. That's why the coaches' salaries are always a topic.
But this is what I'm saying is no one knows what the AD makes at LSU. No one knows what the AD makes at Ole Miss. You know what I mean? Like
the people, the
white people that do know, trust me.
Yeah, they know.
They do know.
That's just not a concern for a lot of people outside. They know what they were making. They know that Scott Woodward, who just got fired from LSU, his buyout was $6.5 million.
Okay.
And he was making about, I think it was between 1.3 and 2 million a year with bonuses. Yeah, they know what it is.
I'm telling you now, it's some coaches, man, that make 30, 40, and 50,000. They providing housing for them. They can eat on campus. It's all.
No doubt. There are coaches who are like that, and especially on the D2 level. But no Division I school should be doing that anymore.
Hey, Flood, I want to thank you for coming on, man.
Man, I appreciate it.
And I'm gonna invite you on my podcast so we can discuss all the problems that's happening over at FAMU. Because this is not the form we want to discuss.
You're not gonna have the FAMU people after me, man.
well, Flood, it's too late now. It's too late. So it's too late. But it's okay. You're a good guy, and I'm gonna tell them just to get up off of you. I did their work for them.
Look. It is what it is. People been after me since I turned on the microphone, so it ain't no. When they stop being after me, then that means something is wrong.
Hey, so before we get out of here, Flood, please tell the people where they can find you, where they can get your content is, and where they should follow you on Facebook and Twitter.
They can find me on Facebook under Reggie Flood or the Big Time Sports Show. You can find me on YouTube. We're on YouTube as Inside the Game with Coach Mel and Uncle Flood. We come on every Monday from 6 to 7. You can catch me on the social medias on Instagram as Reg Flood, and as I'm not on X as much because I try to stay away from there, but it's Reggie Flood on X. And like I said, Facebook, YouTube, all the places, man. Come and follow me. Check out the content. You can hear me on SWAC TV doing football games and talking a little bit. So, and just to give you a heads up, probably in 2026, I'll be back on the radio doing some of that too. So,
all right, man. Hey, well, thank you again, Flood, man. It's always a pleasure having you on.
Appreciate y'all, man. Y'all do a great show, do a great job, man. And y'all keep doing what y'all doing, and the numbers are gonna keep running up, man. I really appreciate coming on with y'all.
Yeah, if you want Southern to win, man, LC Cole, man.
I got you, Coach.
If you want to win, Coach, you get LC Cole.
I got you. Y'all be good, man. Hold it down. Steve,
thank you, man.
Coach. Y'all be good. Appreciate y'all.
All right, hey, man, and that was Reggie Flood, the Southern Insider, giving us all the information, anything you want to know about Southern. And let me ask you this before we go on to review the games of last week and pick the games of next week. What did you think about his coaching profile for the next head coach? What he thinks Southern should do?
If they got that kind of money, Coach, that's what the big boys do. They go after the winning coaches wherever they are and see if they can make a deal. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do. I mean, Alabama went and took. How many times have Alabama took Washington's coach? How many times has LSU took Notre Dame or somebody's coach? That's what you should do, or go get some winning coordinator. Sarkisian in Texas was what? Alabama's coordinator. Kiffin, he was Alabama's coordinator. That's what you should do.
What do you think about it, Campbell?
Well, here's my thing, and again, I'm not being shady to Southern, but we know the names, and they ain't coming. Trey Oliver's not coming to Southern. Chinsbury's not coming to Southern. Tremaine Jackson's not coming to Southern. T.C. Taylor's not coming to Southern. So again, I've already taken those guys off the table. Deshaun Jackson, he ain't coming to Southern. He's not. That man's got it good.
He doesn't fit the profile. He doesn't fit the profile.
Well, okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. So even the people that fit the profile, they're few and far between. So my thing is, wow, that sounds good. That ain't realistic. And I keep going back to people. What is realistic of who can go coach that team? That's my question, because that's what the Southern people need to know. Who is realistic? So, A, they can either get behind it or say, hold on, that's not kind of what we want. Because what you don't want to have, I won't mention our school, was Southern was not happy with the Terence Graves hire. I got a bunch of family down there that went to Southern. I know a bunch of Southern money people. They weren't happy with that hire. And it turned out the way it was going to turn out. So you got to know what's going to get the fan base. And I'm going to say this again, and he doesn't fit the profile, but that little young cat up there with Deshaun Jackson, this is what I'm talking about. You know, we talking about Hail Marys and things like that. See, to me, that's a Hail Mary, but that's a catch. That young brother played at Bowie. He played quarterback. He's innovative already on offense. He showed that he can interview correctly for Deshaun Jackson, who never met him, to hire him. And if that young brother got down there with them thoroughbreds in Louisiana and go knock on them doors, their mothers are going to love him and their fathers are going to love him. And he'd get a whole bunch of horses down there in Southern. That's just me.
Hey, the guy asked this question. Hey, man, I tell you what, if y'all want the phone lines if y'all want the phone lines on, hit ones. Y'all hit ones. I got to know. I don't want to waste my time and go through the trouble of turning the phone lines on. Hit one if you want the phone lines on. Hey, but I want to thank everybody at this time for watching this on the Off Script channel. I want to say to y'all, man, I certainly appreciate it, man. And I appreciate Scotty for giving us the opportunity to broadcast on his channel. But right now, as we always do, we're going to suspend the broadcast on the Off Script channel. And you can catch HBCU Coaches Corner on its home, the Rocky Miller channel. Much love.
Boy, and, Rocky, yeah, you got to drop the stream, bro.
Oh, yeah, I need to hit the link on him.
Yeah, slow down before you cut everybody out. Let's just get in there. But no, so my thing is, and while you're getting that stream together, this is the thing that's my concern about that Southern. Because like I said, I've never said this as a secret. That Southern job is a great job. Coach, you name it. They got all the things you need to be a championship team. It's Southern University. That name means something. That name means a lot to their former players. It means something to their alumni. It means something nationally. They got a national game that everybody watches Thanksgiving weekend, so they can always show who and what they are. They got a beautiful band. They got beautiful women that dance in front of that band. They got a lot of things that make it look good to go down there and play at Southern.
Shout out to the Dancing Dolls.
Shout out to the Dancing Dolls, 100%.
The new ones and the old ones.
Huh?
The new ones and the old ones.
And they both
they let the old ones probably wouldn't be a good. What would be the former?
The veteran, right? The former, right?
The former Dancing Dolls, yeah. Hey, I'm gonna go off and get this phone line working. Y'all go ahead and carry.
So, Coach, with that being said, what do you think about my opinion about who I think the profile should be for a Southern's coach? What is your opinion?
Well, I've worked here before, and I just think that you got to be ready to go. I think you should have some. I think it's not a job to come and learn on, because it's one of the biggest jobs that we have in HBCU and FCS. I mean, you're averaging, close to 17,000 fans every year. That's more than most Division I schools. You got to come in there and you got to be ready to go. And the biggest thing is you got to be able to hire good staff around you. But here's the other thing, Coach, it's more than just the X's and O's. You got to be a manager of money, knowing how to handle your scholarships, knowing how to handle the money that you got to pay your coaches, being able to, afford to be able to recruit and how to recruit. So, it's more than just the X's and O's of that. A head coach is a manager. You know, he handles the board. He handles, you know, the president. He handles the financial aid department, the housing department. You got to know some about that to be able to stretch it and to bring up new ideas that maybe they haven't even experienced, because most of the people has been in these places for a long time. And as you know, people don't like changes, but you got to have the right persona, you know, of dealing with today's kid. You got to have the right system of dealing with today's kids. So, no, it's bigger than the X and O's. You might could be a great coordinator somewhere, but being a great coach is totally different. And I think that just like I think at Florida A&M, that if you go back and look at the coaches that has been successful in the SWAC, they didn't come in learning how to be a coach. They came in already being a head coach. And if you can go back 25 years, you know, we can sit and count them, that you know that they've won championships where they were, and they was able to come into this conference and win championships.
Now, Coach, we got a question, and I want to bring this up because you weren't on last week, but a lot of people have been talking about it. And one of the topics that we had was about the kid Lockhart, the freshman quarterback. Have you got a chance? Did you get a chance to watch him against FAMU? And did you get a chance? Have you had a chance to see any of him? Have you had a chance to see him play? The freshman,
the Lockhart kid.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a chance to see him. I definitely have to take a look at him.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you had a young quarterback like that already had a well-built, well-coached championship team around, what do you think TC Taylor is going to do with that young man as they go all the way through to try to finish it out, get to SWAC championship?
You're saying the kid at Jackson State. Yeah. I was at the Vegas game.
Okay.
And I seen him there. This is what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't put the whole game plan on top of him. I would try to do what he does best. I think Jackson State got a great run game. And if you coming out of that game and you got 70 plays, you got 35 runs and 35 passes, I don't think that's the right way to do with that kid. Or are we talking more about bringing him off of his red shirt and playing him?
Well, they ain't got no choice now. He's going to play. So that red shirt is out the window. He's going to play the rest of the games.
No, and if you're gonna play him, he got to get his feet wet right now, because he is the quarterback of the future. But the thing about it is you know, you got to be disciplined with him and calling those plays, and not sitting there and putting the whole playbook on him, you know, and think that he's gonna be successful. I don't think you could do that when it gets close to nail biting time, when you need these games to go to the SWAC championship as well as the championship game in Atlanta.
Now, Stutter New said current coach Eddie Robinson was not a coach before getting the job. I want to agree with that, and Coach, you can definitely speak more to this. But we all agree Eddie Robinson is one of the smartest football players that's ever played in the SWAC, literally. He was an academic All-American, and he was always known as a coach on the field. And he also commentated and watched the game. So I
asked him one question. Have he won a championship?
Has Eddie won a championship?
Yeah.
No.
Has he won one? No.
But let me ask you, do you think he's a good – okay, well, then do you think he's doing a good job at Alabama State, though?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, he hasn't won a championship.
Yeah. Let's go back. I mean, Doug Williams, you know, championship guy. Elite comeback championship. Melvin Spears championship. Comegy championship at Tuskegee comes in championship. Pete Richardson championship at Winston-Salem comes in. Rob Broadway championship at North Carolina Central. You know, most of the guys have either they've had a whole bunch of coaching experience or they went in, but majority of them were championship coaches when they came into the conference.
Rocky, you got the call line up?
Yeah, the call line is open. Nobody's called in, so we can go ahead and start reviewing these. Let's go to the MEAC first. Let's go to the MEAC. I think MEAC is always quick work. All right, guys. This is week 11 in the MEAC. We saw this game on Thursday. Delaware State, after narrowly beating Norfolk State, they follow up by really almost losing to Morgan State. If it was not for a last-second kick being missed by Morgan State, Delaware State would have gotten their first conference loss. But almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, Coach. So ultimately, they won the game. I got a chance to see this, and I thought Morgan State played a hell of a game stopping the run, but it did show that Delaware is awfully one-dimensional. And when that one dimension isn't working, they can't really get much on offense going.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody is finding out, just like Delilah gave up the secret to Samson's strength. It was his hair. And, it's going to be a tough matchup with them. They got Howard this week. And then, of course, they got South Carolina State. And the key to stopping them is just stopping the run game and stack the box. Evidently, their receivers is not as good as that people think or say they are. But great coaching job. I think Morgan State screwed up the last series. They throw the ball 3 times in a row. They don't put the ball in the middle of the field where the kicker have opportunity to kick it through the goal. Evidently, they didn't communicate with the kicker. Unfortunately, you can't make those mistakes as a coach. And, that you lose a game. You lose a game on not being able to communicate and making the right calls at the end of the game. Throwing that football when you should have been running it and keeping that ball in the middle of the field.
All right, this next one is ain't much to talk about. Howard traveled down to South Carolina State and got mollywopped. This was not a game from the first quarter on. It was a blowout. I don't think I learned anything about South Carolina State in this game. They are who we thought they were, and Howard is who they thought they were. But to the guy who lost to Howard, ultimately, what do you think about this game, Campbell?
I mean, South Carolina State did what they were supposed to do. And you expected they're setting themselves up for the showdown. South Carolina State got 2 of the biggest games for the rest of the year in the MEAC. They go to North Carolina Central this week, and then they go for Delaware State to set up potentially for the MEAC championship. So I don't think Howard has shown no resistance, and Howard is who we thought they were. FAMU really let them off the hook. Howard's not a good team. So like I say, again, what I'm curious about is how are they going to make a coaching change? Because now there's starting to be some rumbling about Larry Scott not being there.
Okay. Hey, this next game was really surprising to me. I have to give a shout out to Scotty and Zoe. They thought this game would be competitive. I wasn't sure about that, and it went down to the wire. After getting spanked by South Carolina State, Norfolk has showed up 2 weeks in a row and really played tough games against some of their better competition in the SWAC. What do you think about that? Is Norfolk getting better, Coach Cole, or what's happening? They take a tough loss to South Carolina State, and then they travel down to Delaware State and give Deshaun Jackson all he could ask for, and then they go to Durham and almost pull off the upset.
I think that, they're making some great adjustments. Nobody's never complained about the athletes that they have, but it was just the style they were playing. As you can see, they kind of have cleaned up a little bit, and maybe next year when they get a new start. But once again, Michael Vick is just learning on the job. He's not. I'm not going to say he's not what everybody thinks he is, but they averaging fans, they're being seen. I guess that's what they wanted. But like I told you guys, at the end of the day, it's about winning football games. Whether it's 28-31 or you win by 1, you're going to have to win. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. that game right there, Norfolk and North Carolina Central, is always a barn burner. You know, unfortunately, they fell short. You know, you're talking about two teams that's real close to each other in proximity. So hat off to my man Trey Oliver. You know, he played another nail biter. He's going to have to relook at what's going on in his staff. And, you know, he lost a lot of players as well as a lot of coaches as well. You know, a lot of people took his coaches off his staff. So maybe that's some of it, that he's playing these teams close or these teams playing him close.
Let's look at this one, Coach. This is next week in the MEAC. And this game is on Friday. Most people before the season started would have said this is the de facto MEAC championship game, but that's not the case because of a upstart Delaware State team. But Campbell, Coach, how do you think this game will pan out, and what do you think the outcome will be for the winner, and what do you think the outcome will be for the loser?
So here's the thing. When you said, to me, it still can be. And what's crazy, Central controls their own destiny with a little bit of help from South Carolina State. You win this game, South Carolina State wins, beats Delaware State. And from what I've seen, shout out to Wild Wayne, it looks like the tiebreaker would go to North Carolina Central, and they will be MEAC champ. So this game is, they can't sit back and say, oh, we're out of it. They are 100% in it. This is a really big game. And, you know, again, payback is a mother, because you got to understand, on Halloween night, last year, a lot of people watching. You had Josh and those guys saying, oh, we're going back and we're going to beat Jackson State and we're going to do them. And guess what? Chennis Berry has something to say about that and shut them up on a Thursday night. Now you got a Friday night game that's a standalone game, another standalone game, an early game, which of me at 5:30, I think that is really weird that this game starts at 5:30 Eastern. I didn't understand that at all. But with that being said, you still got a Friday game, a standalone game, and I think everybody knows what they're playing for. But I will say this about South Carolina State. I believe that they're going to really understand, because they want to get to that last game. I think they want to shut that Deshaun Jackson talk down. So that's the reason why I give them a little bit of the edge. But Rocky, your boy, Walker Harris, who probably will be MEAC Offensive Player of the Year, depending on what happens with Mosley, if he plays or not, had another great game. 3 touchdowns, 265 yards passing. So you talked about what he could and could not do. I'll tell you what he can do. He's been making plays and keeping that team steady and winning.
Yeah. I know me. I got to take South Carolina State in this situation. They proved to be able to do it last year. They've been winning convincingly in the MEACs thus far. And so I got to take South Carolina State. What about you, Coach?
Great game, man. This is what college football is all about. You got two great teams, great coaches. I had the pleasure of talking to them, you know, about the situation. And if North Carolina Central wins, South Carolina State goes play Delaware State and wins. When you talk about tiebreakers, you talk about the first thing is who's won head-to-head. Then you go and look at opponents. In this case, each one of them will look. So if North Carolina State wins and then South Carolina State beat Delaware State, you got 3 schools are looking at each other like, well, pointing the finger, I beat you, you beat me up. So then it comes down to opponents, which they all beat each other. Then it comes down to points. How many I beat you by, how many you beat me by. You know, or the commissioner can step in and say, look, since North Carolina State and South Carolina State is being, we gonna go with Delaware State. That could play a role in it as well. So it's interesting. Man, I'm gonna have to go with South Carolina State again because of, you know, with Rocky. I think North Carolina Central has a hole that their run game it's tough on them stopping the run game. So I'm gonna go with South Carolina State because I know they run the ball very well.
Hey, Rocky, do we have enough time and to really show what the tiebreaker is real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So shout out, again, giving all credit to Wild Wayne Cartwright. Does a great Sunday breakdown. So Wayne broke it down. So I'm getting ready to play what Wayne had. And Coach, this is what the breakdown is. So let's do that right here.
Let me take mine down.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And let's see. Let's move that back a little bit. All right. So we're going to. I'm trying to get set up. All right. We're going to start it right here. There we go. Shout out to my nephew, Wild Wayne Cartwright, for this. So not stealing, just used it for informational purposes. Oh, hold on. Whoops.
Both teams, you're talking about South Carolina State and Delaware State. Both teams are 3-0. Okay. Delaware State, they host Howard, and South Carolina State, they hit the road Friday to take on North Carolina Central. If both teams win their games this week, very simple. They play each other in the final weekend all right. That's if both win. That's the easiest way that things can be settled in the MEAC. All right. Both win, winner take all next week. Then you'll know who the champion is. Okay. Both teams are still alive in the final week, regardless of this weekend's outcomes. All right. Now, for North Carolina Central, they're 2-1. As many people know, they lost to Delaware State. They must win on Friday to stay alive against South Carolina State. If they do not win this game on Friday, they are eliminated. All right. So they need to win to stay alive for what I will show you coming up next. Okay. This is what it is right now for each of the three teams. Okay. Delaware State, they can win the MEAC by beating Howard this week and South Carolina State to finish 5-0. That's the easy one. Or 2 South Carolina State losses. That would mean South Carolina State would have to lose its last 2. And that's how that Delaware State could win. For South Carolina State, easiest way, just win your last 2. North Carolina Central, you need 2 wins. You need to win this one on Friday. And then you also need to win your finale against Morgan State. And then you're going to also need Delaware State to lose to South Carolina State to set up a 3-way tie. And all 3 could end up being tied at 4-1 by defeating each other. Okay. Now, all of the tiebreakers that I have are coming up. Delaware State, they've already beaten North Carolina Central. And then this would mean that North Carolina Central would beat South Carolina State this Friday. And then South Carolina State would have to beat Delaware State in the finale. And that would set up a 3-way tie at 4-1. So if all 3 ended up 4-1, here's what you got. Okay. All right. This is the MEAC tiebreaker policy. And this is what is very, very simple on how they have it. Okay. This is 6 points are awarded for a win against a FBS team. Okay. 4 points for a win against a, out of conference against an FCS team. 4 points are subtracted when you lose to, let's say, a D2, a D3, whatever. Okay. Team with the highest point total goes to the Celebration Bowl. If a tie exists, you see all that good stuff. Okay. Bottom line here is here's 1A. Neither of the 3 teams have beaten an FBS team. Okay. So that does not apply here. All right. 1B. 4 points awarded for non-conference wins. All right. North Carolina Central has defeated FAMU, Southern, East Texas A&M, and North Carolina A&T. That's 16 points. South Carolina State has beaten Wofford, Bethune-Cookman, and also North Carolina A&T. They would have 12 points. Delaware State, they beat Albany and St. Francis, 6 points. They don't get anything for that homecoming win against Southern Connecticut State, and they don't get anything for beating Bowie State. Okay. C is not applicable because neither one of them lost to a non-Division I opponent. And so if this was a three-way tie, North Carolina Central would go to the Celebration Bowl if they had a three-way.
There you go. There you go, Coach. So that's how it breaks down. So by the virtue, and this is why I say sometimes, as they say, lucky people are lucky just because they're lucky. They just have Central just have the schedule. FAMU at their worst and Southern at their worst, and got 2 of those wins. And that is going to be literally why they might get to the Celebration Bowl, because they beat Southern and FAMU. How about that? Because they're going to get it by more points because they played those 4 games.
I wonder, he must have got that from the conference.
That's exactly what he did. So that's kind of funny when I saw that by happenstance, the year that they played FAMU, this is their down, Southern being down, which more likely they played them a couple of years before would have been a game. Never know what would have happened, but they caught us down, and those might be the reason why those 2 good wins for them against bad teams might propel them to the Celebration Bowl.
Well, like I say, what I like is Delaware State situation is pretty easy.
But damn, look, that gives North Carolina Central some incentives, don't it?
Big. That's what I'm saying. Big. So that is the thing about it. And if I'm Central and I'm sitting there because Rocky Limit, and I hate to pass this forward, move it forward, but let's just say it plays out of Central's favor. They beat South Carolina State. Who do you take on South Carolina State and Delaware State their last game?
I mean, I'm still gonna say South Carolina State is the favorite.
Okay, exactly. I would probably say the same. What about you, Coach?
So if North Carolina Central loses one of the 2, then the winner of the South Carolina.
No. Central's thing is they have to win.
No, I get that. I'm saying if they beat South Carolina State and lose the next game, then the winner of the South Carolina State and Delaware State game will go.
Right, but
that's the only way those
they're
2.
not losing. They're not losing their last game. They're not losing. They're playing. Yeah, they're not losing.
Yeah, that's the only 2. So shit, right now it seems like North Carolina Central sitting in the driver's seat.
No, not at all.
What my question is, with that being said, South Carolina State plays Delaware. Who do you think more likely will win that game?
Oh, South Carolina State.
Okay, so now that brings to your point. Yeah, North Carolina Central.
Now here's the reality. And this may not. The game is simply for Delaware State. They have to win the last game against South Carolina. Like that's if they win that game, they go no matter what happens against Howard.
Exactly, that's true.
If they beat
control their own destiny no matter what.
Yes.
Them and South Carolina State both control their own destinies.
Yes. And here's another situation. Say, because they play each other, but I'm simply saying that North Carolina Central someone has to beat Delaware State for North Carolina Central to get life. You know what I mean? Somebody has to beat Delaware State, and up to this point, no one has. Hey, we got a couple callers. Hey, callers, y'all hang on. I'm gonna get through pick these last 2 games, and then let y'all get in. All right, Morgan State and Norfolk here. This is the Toilet Bowl 2.0. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this one. I like Norfolk State in this one. It's at home. They've been playing well. Ooh, but Otto Kuntz is hurt. I gotta take Morgan State. I'll take Morgan.
Well, Coach Wilson's a great defender, and he'll slow him down. And the only thing about it, boy, I tell you what, Morgan State stinks on offense, boy. Stinks. I know they got a young quarterback. Maybe just the one that Michael Vick can get. So I'll go with Michael Vick.
What you got, Campbell?
Otto Kuhn's being out hurts, but I'm just going to go out on a limb, and I just think that Norfolk, what I've seen, they still have a lot of talent. They'll bring the other quarterback back. And like you say, Coach said, Morgan just can't score. So if Norfolk can get to 17, they win that game.
Yeah.
And it's been that way. It's been that way. It's been that way. I don't know why they can't score no points.
Yeah. All right. Last one on the Norfolk side for next week is Howard and Delaware State kickoff. Delaware State should win this game going away. What do you guys think?
Yeah, without a problem. Howard is just down. They've been going down since they came out of the Celebration Bowl. I got Delaware State winning that one.
All right, here's the thing. So as you guys know, I watched both coaches' calls, and Deshaun Jackson said something that was very important. He said, I don't have anybody on this team that's ever won anything. Many guys on this team have not even won this amount of games in their career.
Are outdated.
So we have to show these guys how to win. So what I will say to this is that this is a very tough game for Delaware State. They've had 2 games that they barely escaped. So again, is it catching up to the guys? Can Deshaun Jackson keep them focused? I think this game is going to be really close. I think Delaware State is going to pull out. But I'm telling you, if Deshaun Jackson, they don't have guys on there that knows what the championship grind is. That's just a fact. So now he has got to coach this into these guys. And Coach, you know that's hard when you don't have guys that don't know how to win. That is a very hard thing to do, which shout out to Deshaun Jackson. But I'm just saying, this is one of those games. I hope those guys are not saying, oh, we're playing at home, we're automatically going to win, and we got South Carolina State next week, because that is a recipe for disaster, and they'll lose this game.
Absolutely. Who you got, Coach?
I got Delaware. You was talking about the Delaware State,
Oh,
right?
you already picked. You said Delaware State?
Yeah.
All right. Caller, with the last 4, 8572, you're live on HBCU Coaches Corner. What's your name and where you calling from?
What's going on, Rock? I'm from Michigan, man. I've been watching y'all guys for a while, man. I just like listening to the college football, especially from y'all perspective. I definitely like Coach Cole. Hey, Coach Cole, when you was at Cincinnati, who was the head coach?
Rick Minner.
Okay. So you was there at Rick Minner. So after that was when D'Antonio got there, or was that a little bit further down the line?
That was further down the line. I see Rick's son was a kid. Now he the defense coordinator at the Chargers. Is it the Chargers or the Steelers? One of them.
The Chargers.
No, he was the Chargers. He had Chargers. He was Jim. Jim did a good. I mean, I don't like. I got a couple of good buddies of mine who played at U of M, and they all told me he was gonna light the world up, man. When he got that job at Michigan, when the other guy went back to Baltimore to be the linebacker coach. Well, I got a question for you guys. I know I've been saying in the chat, Mr. Campbell don't believe it, but you don't think Southern will pay that money to bring Trey Oliver back to Southern? And the reason why I say is because what if North Carolina Central is starting to get stale and he got to go to a new place, just get himself revigorated? And the reason why I say that is because Coach Cole alluded to it. He lost quite a few coaches off the staff. He lost his chaplain. He lost some players. Do you think that Southern will have enough money to bring him down there?
Hey, how well do you know Trey's background? You know his.
Well, I know he was the defensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator down there at Southern, though.
Yeah, I know him a little personal. His mother and father finished from Central. He finished from Central. He's a homegrown. You know what I'm saying? Trey Oliver donates like $15,000 to $20,000 every year of his paycheck back to the school. I think he's ingrained in there. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's going to have to be more than just, $50,000 or extra $100,000 for him to uproot and leave all that when he got it all there. You know what I'm saying? He's got connect.
Hey, I'm just throwing something out there, Coach.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing something out there. The only reason why I say it is because I'm being honest with you, and Rock might agree with me on this one. They may pay the money. They may give him what he asked for too.
Well, hey man,
I'll just leave it at that.
You can't count nobody's money.
Well, here's my point. How much money would it take you to leave a place that you love? I don't think Southern has that much money.
What you think?
Hey, caller dropped off. Caller with the last 4 3676. What's your name and where you calling from?
Yes, sir. I come from Houston, Texas. Well, Missouri City, Texas. Zach Peters.
Hey, can you turn us down in the background because I hear myself?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I want to talk about I keep hearing the strength of schedule thing with PV and ASU and JSU. And are y'all actually analyzing both schedules? Because they played some of the same teams, and Grambling came over there and beat two of the top 3 teams on that side.
You might have called into the wrong show. Did you call it to the right show?
I don't know, but I know I've been hearing a lot of chatter about the strength of schedule, and I don't know if it's y'all or the other guys.
Guess what? What's your name again, brother?
Peters, Zach Peters.
Peters, I'm gonna tell you this here, Mr. Peters. You may be even kin to Cam Peters. I ain't gonna even say if you are or not, but you ain't got it. You ain't got it, man.
I am. That's my son.
All right. Hey, but here's what I'll say, sir. There won't be no votes. There won't be no. I won't have to send in a ballot. Won't none of that determine who win the SWAC. You know why? Cause y'all gonna line it up. Your son and his team gonna line it up against Jackson State, and they gonna decide which team is best. Who they played in September, who they played in October, ain't gonna even matter no more. Because what ultimately gonna determine is what they do on December the what? 6th, right? Am I correct?
So, question. So, why is there so much hate for PV out there?
Mr. Peter, hold on, wait a minute. Let me reverse that, because, and again, I'm a big fan of what Prairie View is doing, and congratulations to your son. You've raised a fine young man. Saw him in the interviews. Clearly doing great by him.
I see you didn't call when he threw them 4 interceptions, though. I'm just gonna go and mention that.
But hey, we are very accountable for that. We don't run from nothing.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
But you know what? If you read his Twitter account, he said, "Hey, that's on me, PV Nation. We're gonna be better." And he came back and stood on, and he threw 5 the next week. Now what?
Hold on. Let me ask you a question though. Why? And I understand this, and I see a lot of the chatter. We got a lot of great people, but why do y'all even care what the Jackson State people are even saying? Why do you care?
Well, the thing about it is let's just keep it real. Is like I said, Grambling came over there and beat 2 of y'all top 3 teams. The teams that ASU played, I mean, they have 1 more win than the teams Prairie View played. So all this strength of schedule stuff and all this, it ain't making no sense. It ain't Rice beat. Okay, we played Rice. Rice beat UAB. ASU beat UAB. I mean, they lost to UAB.
So
that's just to understand all the PV hate.
Disrespected. That's what I'm trying to say. What is the foundation of your angst? Do you feel that people are not respecting PV? Is that what it is?
I think that's exactly what it is.
So here's what I'll say.
I mean, let's call a spade a spade.
So, Mr. Peters, do you know the history of the university before your son signed?
Everybody in my family played. They attended PV. My mother, my dad, except for me, I went to Oklahoma. So why it's a legacy. My sister, my niece, about 10 people in my family graduated from Prairie View. Now what?
Well, you were Texan then.
Yeah, so I know the history. I know the history.
So here's what
the history.
Here's what I would say, bro. At the end of the day, Prairie View gonna have to change the narrative by beating somebody's ass.
Oh, definitely.
That's the only way the narrative. Coach Cole, I'm gonna let you get in here. Can PV change the narrative? Can they convince somebody by talking to them?
Well, no. I mean, they've been to the championship. What? Out of the last couple of years.
This is their 3rd try.
Yeah, 3rd time at it. and definitely they'll be in it this year. And I think they coming with a different look. But unfortunately, you can only play and beat the people who's on your schedule. And unfortunately for people, they've lost to the people they supposed to lose to and beat the people they supposed to. So I get Rocky's point, Mr. But Mr. Peters, can I tell your son something? Tell him don't stop throwing them balls up there and expect somebody to make a play. He's supposed to make a play of throwing that ball out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Oh, hey, me and you have constant talks about making a bad play worse.
Yeah, tell him he the quarterback, make him win. Throwing the ball away is not a bad play, but throwing it up for grabs and hoping somebody make a play, that definitely is on him. And I understand that he takes, but he's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback. But what'll make him great is that he don't make those mistakes.
Taking care of the football, coach.
Mm.
Hey,
Yes.
Mr.
No,
Peters,
definitely. I totally agree.
Mr. Peters, if you're a PV fan and you know the history, first off, you can't have no football conversation with anybody without talking about 0-88. Like, they gonna bring that up straight off the muscle, even though it's no longer relevant.
Exactly.
Cam wasn't even born. You know what I mean? He ain't got nothing to do with that. Again, but they gonna bring it up. Then there's a situation where they've been to SWAC championships 3 out of the last 5 years. This will be 3 of the last 5 years. The previous 2 years, they had what I would consider poor showings or no showings. You understand? So, in order to change the narrative, they gonna have to just whoop somebody's ass, man.
I don't have a problem with that. I'm just talking about the hate that's out there. I mean, how many teams have not? No. Just because you're talking loud, it don't mean you're right. How many teams haven't got there?
Well, but Mr. Peters, the thing of it is that it's your coach, it's your head coach, and he's selling his program. And when you sell your program, you put yourself out there. But he's backing it up with the wins. It's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the West Side is so down right now that he's running through the West Side and it's his first year. But the problem is,
how are they down? Oh, I hate to interrupt you, but how are they down? And Grambling came over there and beat the top two teams.
But you just talking about one.
And I will tell you this: if we play Grambling 9 times this year, we beat Grambling 9 times.
Who are the top 2 teams you're speaking of, sir?
Jackson State,
JSU and ASU. Well, I take that. I'm sorry. Two of the top 3, BC and JSU. They didn't play ASU.
But you can't count BCU now. You can't count Bethune-Cookman.
They're
just started.
They're on the schedule. They the top 3 over there. They're in the top 3. How come you can't count them?
But then when you look at the East, they come over and beat everybody on the West. Everybody. Come on now.
Who? Grambling came over there and beat JSU and Bethune-Cookman. Number 1 and number 3 in the conference. Am I right or wrong?
Did they beat
yes or no?
You're talking about
it's just a yes or no answer.
What you talking about?
It's just a yes or no answer.
Mr. Peters, you do
it's just a yes or no answer.
I want to speak facts here, Mr. Peters. You do know
Mm-hmm.
the second place team in the East right now, mollywopped both. Well, I ain't gonna say mollywop. They beat both the leader and they beat Southern in good fashion, and they did it with their backup quarterback playing the second half. So you do know that.
He threw 5 interceptions and lost by 3 points. Stop it. And he fumbled the ball going into the end zone. He didn't put himself out the game. He put him out the game.
It don't matter what happens in the game. It's either you winning or you losing. And if
exactly. They blew us out.
Look at the records in the history.
It was a blowout.
Mr. Peters, look at the records. Look at the facts. If you look at the West records over on the West Side, they are the worst. If you put all those teams together in 12, you'll have at least 4 or 5 of the West teams in the bottom. Right or wrong?
Are you talking about this year or last year? Or year before last?
5 years.
Let's talk about this year, current events.
Hey, Mr. Peters, you sound like a football guy, right?
I am.
How many teams on the West are good teams?
Thank you.
Good. Grambling and TV, and on the other side is JSU and ASU.
It's Florida.
But what I'm saying is, you say 4 out of the 6 teams are bad teams. Essentially, is what you're saying, right? What I'm saying is
on both sides, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about just this year. It's been that. I'm
talking this year.
No. But yeah, I'm talking about historically, it's been that way for the East, though. For the West, it's been that way for the West. It's been that way, and you can't. When we're having these conversations, we can't remove history out of the conversation, because if we make it about this year, then of course Prairie View have an amazing year. But when you talk,
but you know what though? Can I say something? I bet you one of the same ones that say something about Cowboy fans if they mention Super Bowls from the 90s.
No,
I bet you one of the same ones.
I'm a Cowboy fan. I'm a Cowboy fan.
I am too.
And we won those. We won those.
Exactly. And you can't take those away.
Yes.
So I get what you're saying about the past, but we in 2025 right now. New coach, new team, something different going on. All I'm saying is let's wait, let's put it on the field and see how it goes.
We gonna do that. The field gonna definitely.
I'm gonna say something, Mr. Peters, and you may disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Was your son there last year?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
Mr. Peters, you don't say nothing. I don't want you to say nothing. But the team, Prairie View's team, was more talented last year. The only difference is they have a much better coaching staff.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. I totally agree. I sat through the non-discipline last year and leading the nation in penalties. I sat through all that. I totally agree with you.
I'm
not gonna argue with you about that.
So what I'm simply saying is, you as a parent and the supporter of PV, y'all don't worry about the noise, because these people are talking about y'all based on the history of the program and what y'all have done and how the West has performed. Y'all can change the narrative on December the 6th or 7th. I can't remember what the date is, but y'all can change.
I think it's the 6th.
Y'all can change the narrative on that day. And guess what? I guarantee you, Jackson State will not be late. They will be on time, and everybody that can play will be there. So they will have no excuse.
Definitely.
Hey, Mr. Peter,
exactly. They go both ways.
Can I say this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think if PV wins the SWAC championship, I'm gonna give them an opportunity to be and win the Celebration Bowl. I think that they are better athletic-wise to compete against Delaware State, North Carolina Central, and South Carolina State, and Jackson State. I just didn't think they could beat Alabama State. And I was correct on that one. But I think now they got a straight line that I feel that if they win the Black College National Championship this year, I wouldn't be surprised. Is that good enough?
I appreciate that.
Is that good enough?
It's got to be played on the field.
Now that I know that's your damn son is the quarterback, I'm going to be looking for you if they don't.
Hey, I give you my number. You can call me anytime.
If they throw the ball up in that,
I ain't got no problem with that, man.
I got several coaches on that staff I know personally. Now, damn it, you better get him in there and tell him quit throwing that ball away when he feel pressure. He's done that several times.
Hey, these are constant conversations that we have. He's been playing quarterback since 5 years old. Matter of fact, as a matter of fact,
because you ain't doing a good job. You need to call me on a 3-way because you ain't doing a good job.
I'm not a quarterback coach. I play D-line.
Hey, let me say this, Mr. Peters. Make sure you tell your son the pass he made on the Labor Day Classic was a phenomenal application of the passing game, and he was the reason why they won that game. Because I want to give them give a kid kudos when they earn it. And now on that play, and guess what? He had to do it twice. So and he did it both, and he did it both opportunities. So hey man, thank you so much, Mr. Peters, for calling in, man. I appreciate it.
Man, I appreciate it.
And you welcome to call in anytime, man.
Oh yeah, y'all do a good job, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, L.662 talking about Coach Cole is PV the best of the worst. You ain't gonna get me in that one.
Hey, listen, you guys got all happy with him, but I wanted to ask him because we had him on, and he'll call back next week because I do want to ask him this question because this is the thing about it, and I said this to the PV fans. Listen, man, here's the deal. None of this matters what we say. And I understand the kids don't play, kids play and stuff like that. But I'm just going to tell y'all something. I'm going to tell you the mentality of what you got to have. And I think Jack State had it when they lost them 2 Celebration Bowl. And I know doggone well, fam, you had that. We got our ass handed to us by Jack State 2 times. You keep your head down and you beat the teams you're supposed to beat, and it'll end up the way you end it. But all this talking right now, because here's the thing, what is going to happen? You have to go in that vet and beat a national championship team with at least 35 to 40,000 people in that stadium. That's going to be point blank, period, facts. And all this, we need our respect. We need this, man. Don't nobody want to hear that because you want to say this? Because look at Alabama State. Bless their heart. They had everything lined up, and all they're going to do is play Tuskegee for the Turkey Day Classic unless something happens with Bethune-Cookman. It does not matter unless you win. So that's what I'm saying. And I love that Lionel has all that energy. And then defend your school. You should defend it. But I'm going to say this too. You guys got a home game against UAPB. I don't want to see it's only 4,000 people down there. If y'all think you got a championship team, act like championship fans. Championship fans show up.
Talking about Prairie View?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
and those are my folks. Because if you show up for those teams, because I'm going to try to tell you something. Even though Prairie View, I believe they are a great defensive team. Don't sleep on UAPB. They can throw the ball around. Things can get funny. So, I appreciate, Cam Peters. Thank you for everybody that's listening. I really appreciate him calling in, and that is an honor for him to call in. And like I say, he is a great young man. That's his son. He's raising him right. But I'm just trying to tell y'all, man, all that talking on that social media, I keep trying to tell you, that stuff is not real. It don't matter. Don't matter.
And that's why I wanted to remind him, Campbell, is that don't get frustrated by anything that's said on these podcasts or anything like that. Because guess what? At what is it, 12 o'clock on December the 6th, it'll all get sorted out right there. What we say don't even matter. And guess what? What he say don't even matter. You know what I mean? That's the reality of it. Caller with the last 40208. You're live on HBCU Coaches Corner.
What's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
Good, man. What's your name and where you calling from, man?
Oh, yeah, this is Q. I'm calling from Alabama. I guess got the game. What I want to talk about, Prairie View and Alabama A&M. Question for Coach Cole. You're an offensive guy, right? So yes, you're going to make sure that your offense is on point, right? If you're the head coach, right?
Yeah. Right.
So my question is, we giving Coach Shade the opportunity to get recruiting class in, and we give him an opportunity to get his players in. My question is, at what point do you have to make a business decision when it comes to coaching personnel? Because it's a lot of fans are questioning the scheme defensively. And him being the defensive guy, it would seem that the defense would have better showings than what has been showed over the last couple of games. So question for you is, when it comes to coaching personnel, when do you have to, quote unquote, make a business decision, whether you keep somebody on your staff you trust or you have to go in a different direction?
Yeah. Well, you made the business decision, first of all, hiring a head coach who you trust is going to do things right. You guys got to be able to let him bring his people in, his staff. You got to be able to let him go out and recruit. if you look back at Alabama A&M, they weren't very good defensively. They always was a offensive staff. I know guys who was on that staff from Alabama A&M. They were an offensive type team because Coach Maynard was an offensive guy. So most of the time they outscored people. Now you got a defensive guy. And I know that coach is a great coach. I think his staff is a good staff. You got to give him at least 3 years and let him get his people in. And he's got to make that decision. You know what I mean? And I'll think after year 2, if he has the same coordinator and they're not getting nothing done, I think he'll make that decision. I think you guys got the right guy. You just got to be a little more patient with him and his coaching staff. I think that's a little and a lot unfair. I know you guys got a great quarterback coach there in Ken Evans, a guy that I actually coached before, and their staff. You got to give them guys an opportunity to get the right people in there. Don't panic. It's gonna be okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. We know it's a rebuild. We just
he's a championship coach now.
Defensively, we thought things would look better.
Right.
And, defensively is concerning. So that's my question. Like, when it comes to hiring, and making sure you got somebody on your staff you trust, but then, if things are not going in the right direction, maybe next year 3, do you have to say, hey, I gotta pivot?
Now remember too, now you guys lost your number 1 quarterback, like what, 3rd game of the year? He broke his ankle. You know what I mean?
Jackson State game, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So having him, he could have made up for some of that. You know what I mean? Because y'all were putting up points with him. And a lot of times, see, if your defense is on the field all the time and your offense is going 1, 2, 3 out, 1, 2, 3 and out, 1, 2, and 3 out, and then there's other times too where your offense got to play with your defense, or your defense got to play with your offense. What does that mean? Maybe offensively, if our defense ain't strong, we need to be more ball controlling on the offensive side of the ball. Because a great offense is always a great defense that could keep their offense off the field. So that happens a lot. And I've seen y'all play against Lane and seen you guys play against Grant. You guys were turning that ball over and keeping that defense on the field.
Well, Coach Cole,
yes.
And I want the gentleman who's on to listen, because I talked to a coach when this job was open. I talked very candidly with a HBCU head coach, and he said this when the job was open. He said, you have to understand that Alabama A&M is a school where everybody's not going to be an academic fit, right? And you have to hire a coach that's accustomed to recruiting with certain academic constraints. You got to remember where Coach Shea came from, there was no academic constraints. He was able to bring in whoever he wanted, and they were eligible immediately based on that. And so I'm with Coach Cole. You have to give him time to get his program, get the program under his feet, and understand what the criteria is for a kid to get into Alabama A&M, because it's not just like any other school.
I tell you what, Coach Shea ain't sleeping a lot. You guys got a coach that he ain't sleeping a lot either, and he hear all this saying. Like I said, I got a close coach on his staff. I just happened to talk to him this weekend, and he was telling me y'all guys was getting restless over there. Man, give the guy a chance. Give him a chance. I guarantee.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're gonna give him a chance. I'm telling you what the people are talking about, and it's the defense. We've gone over the last couple of years. It's always been the defense. We're giving up 500, 600, 700 yards.
Yeah.
I think what happened Saturday was the lack of effort. We were in the game the first half, and then that second half, it just seemed like there was a lack of effort on the defensive side of the ball. Offense wasn't able to move the ball. So that's when things just started getting restless, and people just kind of got, they threw the hands over, fed up. But yeah, we're gonna give Coach his time to get his pieces in, and we just want to see better effort. That's all. I appreciate I appreciate you all. I'm listening in, and I'll jump off, let somebody else come on.
All right.
Hey, Rocky, let me get in here real quick on this conversation. And this is what I think when you have a school like Alabama A&M that's not a traditional powerhouse, not a traditional winner, and you can't look up at that North Star of Delaware State and say, why are they doing it, why we're not? The SWAC is a totally different animal. The games are totally different. There are more conference games that you have to play, a little bit more difficult. So I think, again, for Sam Shade, what you got a really good coach. And the one thing about it is he took, again, with the hand that he was dealt. He talked about this on this show, about who he brought in and what he had to keep just to get it moving. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of high school kids come in there, and I think you're going to see a lot of high-level transfer that he's going to evaluate. And again, you're going to have a good quarterback coming back. So that is really going to bode well for you guys next year. So again, you can't look at what Delaware State is doing and saying, oh, why is not this, why is not that? I mean, this usually happens with first-year coaches, to be honest with you. You got to take your lumps. You got to take your head knocks. But then if you got a good coach, they build that program, and then year 2 and 3, that's when you really show the production.
Hey, MEAC Mike, I'm not having no academic pissing contest with you. I just simply said from where Coach Shade came from, and you do your own research, there are different academic requirements. Every school has academic requirements that they have to work through. Every school does. But they were different at Miles than they are at Alabama A&M, and I'll leave it right there. So, but we got a caller with the last 48310. You live on HBCU Coaches Corner. What's your name and where you calling from?
Hey, Rocky, Coach, Mr. Campbell. This is Lionel. TV versus everybody.
What's going on, Lionel?
Just calling to bless the Coaches Corner.
Thank you, Lionel. I appreciate it, my brother.
Lionel, you have you can start. Hold on. Let me set this up. You have been a big problem on social media. You have been the guy.
A problem?
Yeah, you have been the guy that the Jackson State people have targeted as the problem for Prairie View. Now, explain to us why, A, you're not a problem, and explain to us why you feel the way you feel and what you do on social media.
Well, first of all, why would I even be a problem in the first place? It doesn't even make sense. I'm a problem because I created a platform to support PV and to talk about what's going on with PV athletics and football, etc. And I say, hey, we're going to be one. We should be a championship program. That's the expectation. And then 2, I'm saying we're going to win the championship. That's the problem. I mean, because that's all I've done, right? So it doesn't even make any sense to me that I am a problem in the first place, right? So again, the whole thing is because of who's saying what, which is we've had that conversation many times before. If it's Grambling, if it's Southern, if it's FAM, nobody's saying anything about somebody saying you're going to win a champion in 2025 or whatever. So it's really nothing, to be honest, right? It's just all smoke and mirrors. That's the first thing. 2, I mean, at the end of the day, I've been telling people, especially TV Nation, you can't listen to none of these people saying. People talk out both sides of their neck all the time when they're talking about sports or football or their team. That's just what it is, right? They create all type of narratives, right? Again, whoever creates narrative controls everything. That's just how it works, right? So at the end of the day, the way you beat that is creating your own narrative, right? So you tell your own story. So that's what we've been doing. And I guess that's also that bothers people, I guess, because, now we're out saying what we want to say about our team. Again, like Coach Cole say, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? We can say, which I'm using what is actually shared and what's actually out there in the real world, right? Real games is played to say, hey, we have number 1 defense. This game against Alabama State is the number 1 defense against the number 1 offense. Anybody can come on and say, oh, well, the stats is full goals and all that stuff. That's fine. If they want to say that, that make no difference to me, right? I'm going to still say what I say, though, right? So I guess because I still can say whatever I want to say and I have my own voice, I'm my own man, right? I guess people have an issue with that. But They don't make no difference to me.
Lana, I'm gonna tell you the problem, really, Lana. And I'm gonna sit there. And if you were in my face, I'd look you right in the eye and say, the problem is that PV's whooping ass this year. That's the problem. That's why you're particularly annoyed. That's part of it.
That's a part of it too.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Y'all whooping ass this year, and you've been talking this talk for several years now, and it's come to fruition. And y'all are on the cusp of doing something that not many people believe y'all could do, but you always believed it, didn't you, Lionel? Didn't you? So I think you deserve to talk your stuff, man. You believed it when nobody believed it. You believed it when nobody believed it.
That's right, Rocky.
You like the
That's
great,
right, Rocky.
You like the great prophet. You like all the great prophets. You know who all the great prophets are. You and Lionel, if they win the championship, you are one of them. Lionel is one of the great. He'll go down in history like Muhammad and all those other great prophets.
Right. Can we at least say he heard it on our show that they were gonna whoop everybody?
No, Lonnie got to give.
No. I ain't hear that. I ain't hear that. I did hear that on that show from Coach Cole. He did say that. I did hear Coach Cole say that. You know what I'm saying?
But and I see that Kalana's my nephew. You know, I love and respect everything. Dude, that's why I kind of set him up for this joke. And he knows it's a joke about him being a problem because he knows he's not a problem. That's more of a joke. But I do find it interesting because of the way social media is, and when you have a champion. That is Jack State. They are the champions. And then you guys who, again, will be the West champions unless something crazy happens, which I don't believe it is. And you guys are the upstart. And the champion does not want to hear from somebody that hasn't beaten them. But you guys will keep talking. And that to me is honestly, with the positive side, not the negative side, is good for the SWAC. I think that some of the banter between the good people, not the fools, and you know what I'm talking about, is fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Because trust me when I say this, Lionel, and you know this, if you all get hammered down in that vet, you know what it's going to be. You know what it's going to be.
Lionel, let me say this, because I want to put you and give you an example of how you feel to other people. What if Arkansas Pine Bluff had a platform where they constantly talk noise and they talked about how they gonna beat y'all to sleep this weekend? How would that sound?
That would sound like something that's great for the SWAC. I mean, I think everybody needs a platform. If we trying to be what we think we are as an FCS conference in the first place, that to me that makes sense. We need that, right? You don't think that? I mean, if you go.
How would it? No, what I'm saying is, how would you take that as a PV?
If they say that the PV?
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wouldn't take that. I don't take that anyway, right? Give your reasons, right? Why do you think we're gonna lose this game? Why do you think you're gonna beat us? I have no problem with that. I don't have an issue with Arkansas Pine Bluff or Valley or any school that you look at as because you're naming that school because of what it is, right? You didn't say Southern. Right, you just said if Southern came on or Jackson came on, because again,
they playing y'all next. That's why I mentioned.
I get you. But I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem. That's my point, though. I don't have a problem at all. I have no problem with that.
You don't think they would be out of line if they're saying if they came to you on your platform, Lionel, and said we're gonna beat y'all to sleep, we're gonna blow y'all out, y'all can't hang with us. There's nothing y'all can do to stop it. PV's gonna get shut out. We don't care about Coach Jackson. We don't care about Cam Peters. We don't care about the running back. We're gonna stop y'all and we're gonna beat y'all to sleep. And then they
why should they care? Why should they care about any of those things in the first place? That to me, right? One, two, it doesn't. Y'all already said earlier that none of this stuff matters, right? So the truth is, it don't even matter because the game gonna get played anyway. But why would I have a problem? Why would I have a problem with Arkansas Pine Bluff talking noise? That don't make any sense. It doesn't matter what their record is. Why does it make any sense?
So you wouldn't give them pushback and ask them to look into reality and realize that they're 3-6, the bottom of the conference in all statistics, and they're having a struggling season with a coach that probably is going to get fired at the end of the year. You wouldn't mention that to them?
I'm gonna give them pushback regardless, but that's totally different from do I have a problem with them coming and saying. Those are two completely different things, though, right? Two completely different thoughts. I'm gonna talk to whoever I'm talking to, right? They can be undefeated. I'm still gonna talk to them, right? That has nothing to do with can they come and talk to me about what they think they're gonna do. Of course they can, and they should. I mean, hey, do that.
What's the question?
Yeah, I don't see that as an issue. I don't see that as an issue at all.
No, he said, did Coach Cole say, did you have a question or another comment?
No, my only main point was just to come on and say that things are, because I heard Mr. Peters come on early, and at the end of the day, right? For example, early in this year, you had people really talking well about Alabama A&M, regardless of, or even North Carolina Central, right? A lot of it is based on, again, the pedigree of what they see and what they had from last year. It's not even based necessarily on this year, right? But the truth is, if you looked at everybody they played up until that point, they had only been teams that with one win, right? Every win they had was against a team that had one win, right? When you look at Alabama A&M, people were looking very highly at them when Quad Brown was not injured yet, but who had they beat yet? Only Tennessee State, an all-corn team that lost to Northwestern State. So really, they ain't play anybody, right? So again, it's just all about narratives and whoever's controlling the mic at that time at the end of the day, right? But like y'all have already said, and I'm just seconding it, none of it matters until you play on the field, right? And so at the end of the day, we can create all type of narratives, right, around many different things, right? We can make a defense look better than they are, or offense look worse than they are, based on what our perspectives are. But again, the teams are going to have a chance to determine what it is when they play the game. And again, December 6th, as I've said, like Mr. Campbell say on Twitter, if y'all think we talking now, don't worry, this ain't nothing. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'll holler at y'all, man.
I appreciate it, Lionel, man. Thank you for calling in. You're always great.
Versus everybody. Sunday night, y'all check him out. Him and Coach Northern and one other guy.
Hey, man, I admire Lionel, man.
Guys, one of the things, though, y'all really sometimes overlook is, I know we're saying some of this stuff don't matter, but ask Terence Graves.
Yeah, well, Coach, to your point is, you're right. There are consequences for certain things that happen, but at the end of the day, Terence Graves didn't lose his job because of what was said about him. Now, what was said about him ain't why he lost his job, is it, Coach? It ain't because you said he didn't lose his job when you said he was the best of the worst. He kept his job.
Right.
No, right. What was said about it was validated by actually what happened. Let's say that.
Right.
He actually validated what people thought.
We were fighting for him when the people on the outside was like, oh no, this championship a bust.
No, yeah. I said it was championship a bust because it was, and that's the reason why he didn't make it. So no, I said that I never deviated from that because those other people were not going to sit back there, and of course, and I never thought they would have a historic bad year. But I thought if those games flipped, like we all predicted that they would, and they did flip,
they all flipped. They all flipped.
They all flipped. And that was, I never thought they were all going to flip to a point where I would never believe to this very day that Southern might be 1-11. That to me still is baffling.
Wow. Hey guys, let's get through these games so we can get our picks, man. We already went through. We were forced to go through the Prairie View A&M game twice. Did anything come out of this for you guys? The thing that surprised me is the backup quarterback wasn't near as effective as he had been against other teams. And Coach Cole, do you think that was because of the defense he was playing?
Ain't no question. I mean, man, when you get this late in the season, and as a coach and as a team, either you getting better or you getting worse. And fortunately, I've been on both ends of that year, so it gives you a chance to evaluate what you have. And at this time, you're experiencing everybody. You trying to play everybody. You're trying to find some guys that maybe you should have played during the season and didn't play. So, no, it doesn't.
All right. Is there anything that we learned in this game? I don't think we learned anything here. Jackson State is Jackson State. Mississippi Valley is 1-8. I don't think that. I know T-Buck is your guy, Mr. Campbell.
I like I say, I was on D Breakdown with Mike. I told him this is exactly what was going to happen on D Breakdown. See y'all tomorrow, as a matter of fact. But so it's not shocking. I mean, Jackson State was going to come up there and roll those boys, and that's exactly what happened. There was no doubt in my mind. Like I say, Coach T-Buck is going. He just got listen. He's going to have to figure out what his recruiting formula is, and once he figures that out, then he'll get those guys competitive. It's the first year. It's Mississippi Valley. This is not shocking.
All right, Coach, I'll let you talk about this one. Your guy Eddie Robinson was coaching against your alma mater with a backup quarterback. Bama State went in at halftime down by 3, and they won the second half 21-0. So,
TSU's been playing like this all year. They do enough to stay in the game, but they don't do enough to win. And of course, they beating the teams they should, and not beating the teams that they can beat. They have a lot going on. I heard the post game interview by the head coach, and he was really riled up by some of the players showing a lot of undisciplined and making a lot of undisciplined actions, and that's something that he's going to have to get together because it definitely shows on the football field. They definitely got a good-looking football team, and should be winning some of these games if they lose it.
Were you surprised that that Bama State was able to hold it together and beat Texas Southern convincingly, even though Andrew Body was on the shelf?
No, not really. The kid they got behind, he's a transfer that's pretty darn good, but they just been playing good football. They look like they got good team chemistry, good team morale, and they make it tough when you come down in the hornet's nest.
Coach, I wanted to point something out to you and ask you, had you experienced this very much? Have you experienced where a team loses by looks like 18 points and they had the ball 42 minutes and 17? I mean, and the other team had the 17. Have you ever seen it? Because I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, Coach.
Look, that one I can't answer. That's saying you playing a lot of ball control being down. You controlling the ball down, and they just coming back and they just big playing you. Look at the team stats individual to see that evidently they were just making big plays. How do you score 42 points and you don't convert a third down? Wow. Again, you having some good plays. Now, it's interesting that you play a whole game and you only have 4 third downs. That's crazy. And Coach, it ain't even no turnovers. So it's got to be big plays. They had to catch either long touchdowns or long runs. Oh, I think they made some score some points in the kicking game too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I know one dude ran a kickoff back. Yeah. So that was just an interesting stat I wanted to bring out there. And then we got Florida A&M. Campbell, I'm gonna step aside, and I know you had both eyes on this one.
Yeah, I had both eyes plus 2 more eyes. I had my crack staff to watch this game too, and my crack staff let me know there was 4 touchdowns called back in this game. 3 of them were in the first quarter. So this game could have went for Pine Bluff. For Pine Bluff. Oh wow! Yeah, this game could have went a totally different way. So again, what Coach Coles has shown the propensity is to beat the worst teams in the SWAC and not be able to get blown out by the best teams. That scored 31. Is that what in 2 seasons? Is that like the 4th game y'all scored 30 points? Well, we've scored 30 against them, Southern, Alcorn, Albany State. So we scored 30 plus 4 games this season. And last year We didn't score over 24, but twice.
Wow.
But, I mean, it doesn't matter because we're not scoring the points against the good teams. I mean, what is that? I mean, I'm not giving us no. This is, like I said, this is Florida A&M. And, again, the problem is in both of these games, we showed playmakers that are going to the house that we did not feature in the first part of the season, which led up to being blown out because you didn't get those guys involved until now at the end of the season. Now, the crazy thing about it, and I've told everybody this, FAMU's going to run the table. Watch what I tell you. You know, and all these people, oh, you're going to lose this. Man, I'm going to say this. Stop talking about FAMU's going to lose these bad teams. FAMU has that much talent that we can beat the bad teams. We just don't have what we need to beat the good team. But we're going to beat Alabama A&M next week. We're going to beat Valley. And Bethune-Cookman, like I said, we'll see what happens when they go up there to Jackson. Because if Jackson put a whooping on them, I think that's going to take a lot of steam out of them. But I know they'll be ready to play. But it'll be amazing that Cozy will sneak through again and be 7 and get another 7-win season. Which still shows you, compared to Southern, that's not the standard for FAMU. That's not going to be acceptable, winning 7 games. Well, a lot of other teams will be happy to win 7 games.
Yeah. Coach.
Maybe y'all need to go get the coordinator from Delaware State.
Coach.
They want a Florida boy, Coach.
No, all I'm going to say is to TBA, to be announced. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Coach Cozy's still the coach. Hey, now, Coach, this was your protege. One of your proteges was in this game. And this game was talked about all over the SWAC, but not for football, Coach. Coach, have you ever had a team be in a brawl?
I haven't, Coach. I've never I've never coached a football team, especially as a head coach and assistant head, that had a brawl. Never. I just think that talking with Coach Mickey, he just said that he was just saying he started teams coming down and into their tunnel. If you ever been to Grambling, you got to come down this big old hill. And as soon as you hit the hill, they have their tiger up where the kids run through. And for some reason, kids like to go through the tiger, so they had a hard time with that. But this thing was interesting. He said there were no referees. Referee usually come and get your team and tell you, let's go. I don't know why these 3 or 4 or 5 ball players from Bethune-Cookman wasn't already down on the field. Because you got to come down this hill, man, get into the football field. And for them kids even to be that close to the players is a no-no. You know what I mean? You got to have mature players. Then I seen some refs which were coming down the hill, and those 3 or 4 players were able to try to get in there and started. But that's where it kind of started from, them coming down this hill. And is that the right thing to say of what Coach said? Politically, no. That's something that you might want to say in your locker room to your kids. Him saying that publicly was not a good move. Unfortunately, if you're in this game, you understand that you don't let people come to your home field and step in in the middle of your field on your mascot or nothing like that. I mean, you're asking for trouble. But on the other hand, you got to have your players and make sure they understand they not only represent themselves in the university, they represent the community they come from and, television and everything else, alumni association. So, you try to stir away from that and you put emphasis on that in practice. I mean, the thing that we used to do in practice is if 2 players start fighting, Coach, we circle up. No, go ahead. But I make sure they keep their helmets on. Coach, after 1 or 2, fighting, if anybody ever got in a fight, it's tough, Coach. It's tough. And, man, I mean, we had guys that, they go at it. Next thing you know, man, before they stop, they so tired, they just hug each other. Man, get off me, man. So when you start doing that, shit, the players, they don't fight. They just go the opposite way. They might hit each other. They go the opposite way. Like, no, man. I'm not. So, it's a process that you should have in or put in to make sure those things won't happen.
Yeah, I know brawls are something that happens, but I think at halftime and before the game, teams should never intermingle unless they are on the field. I think that's always a recipe for disaster for football players. It's such an aggressive sport played by very aggressive young men, and any type of intermingling of the two teams, this could happen. So I think you're right, Coach. I don't know why those Bethune-Cookman players were intermingled with the Grambling players.
Well, and they were asking for it, Coach. They were asking for it. Wrong, who threw the first punch, who didn't throw the – there's no way that those kids should have got that close to the group of them guys. They should have stayed back, let Grambling cleared the pathway, and then came on down on the football field.
Well, and just to kind of talk about the outcome of this, Grambling had 17 players suspended. Bethune-Cookman had 9 players suspended. Looks like 17 players is a lot, Coach. That's a lot of players.
Yeah, that's a lot of players.
I don't know how many of them are frontline players, but that's a lot of players, Coach.
Like I said, talking to Coach Joseph, man, he just said, Coach, last year they got into a big brawl with Alabama. He said, I just get sick of it. These teams come here, and try to walk all over you and all that kind of stuff. But, we talked, we had a good talk, man. And I just kind of added to him, Coach, I know how you feel, but you speaking from a different platform.
Yeah.
So he was able to straighten that all out and read another statement today.
Yeah. He had a more measured comment at SWAC at the SWAC conference.
He was hyped, Coach. He was hyped after winning a big game, at the end, and he coming off the field, and he's still excited. And as soon as you throw that mic in your face, man, you gotta be ready to say the right thing.
Yeah, he said disrespect is gonna be met with disrespect. Hey, he sounded like he wanted some more, Coach.
Hey, like them young boys say, he was standing on 10 toes down.
Hey, what did you think about it, Campbell?
Well, you guys are bearing the lead. The fight is the fight, but I'm going to tell you what's more important, and correct me if I'm wrong. Does not Coach Joseph have an automatic kicker if he wins 8 games on his contract? Isn't that correct? You guys got to understand what's going on with Grambling. Grambling is potentially going to win 9 games this year. That is a big deal. All that fighting, to me, that's irrelevant. What is relevant is what's in front. No, I'm serious. Because that fight can determine if he's going to have the players, A, to get that 8th win and to get that 9 wins for Grambling is a big deal. That puts them on. And like I say, and people, and Coach, this being around us, I've always told people about this. You better watch Grambling. They're never going to be down for long. And there's something about that school and something about those guys, because they get the 9 wins, you're going to see a whole bunch of players flood in there next year, and they're going to be challenging for that West. So to me, the bigger thing is, can he win? Because I think, do they play Alcorn? Do they play Alcorn next week?
Yeah, they got Alcorn.
Okay, so you're talking about a big game that Grambling needs to win for Mickey Joseph, A, to say, you know what? I have a choice now. I can stay or I can leave. You're not going to be able to make the decision, which will be also interesting because of what we've heard of swirl around Mickey Joseph. And do they get the 9 wins, which will be a hell of an accomplishment compared to what's happened the last couple of years at Grambling?
Hey, I don't agree with this, but I understand their point. I don't think Grambling is a sleeping giant. I think Grambling is a giant. You know what I mean? They just have to have the right guy at the helm, and it looked like Coach Joseph is the guy. Now, speaking of not going to be down long, we got your good friend from Southern. They traveled to Alcorn, Mr. Campbell. And They lost 17-35 to what I would consider a bad Alcorn team.
Well, I thought I watched this game, and of course I think you guys did a watch party.
Yeah.
And I was headed to the Laker game, but I watched as much of it I could as I was even in the car. And the thing that I found fascinating is that how well Alcorn played. And this was I don't know if y'all saw that handshake between Cedric Thomas and Fred McNair. It wasn't no hug. It was like, all right, coach, it's good to see you. And they kept it moving. I found that a little bit fascinating.
I don't think either one of them said one word.
Exactly. So again, you're talking about a team, Alcorn, who really was teetering to look at where Southern was looking to put a couple of wins together now. And the question is, can they finish strong? Again, they play Grambling next week. That's a big game for both teams. Again, big game for Alcorn. And again, we're talking about to get to a record where Cedric Thomas can keep his job. Grambling, again, can they get 8-9 wins? So I thought that was fascinating. Southern, like I said, those guys are checked out. And I think the Southern people know it. Everybody knows it. Those guys are checked out. They're not going to win another. I don't think they're going to win another game.
Yeah.
Hey, we can go ahead and pick these games for next week. I thought this was going to be a hope to be a very competitive game. But the last couple of weeks, Bethune-Cookman has showed up like Bethune-Cookman that we all know and love. Do you think this has any chance on being a game, Coach Cole?
I think it does. I think you're going to have a high-scoring game. One thing, Bethune-Cookman, boy, they could definitely beat you deep. I don't think Jackson State should go in there and thinking they're going to lay down because they ain't. They know they got an opportunity to be the big dog. I seen Grambling come in there and get and run past Jackson State. They got some wide outs, and Bethune-Cookman they can get it done. So hopefully Jackson State don't take them lightly.
So are you saying you taking Bethune-Cookman on this one?
No, I got Jackson State, but it's gonna be a close one.
Okay. What about you, Campbell?
Hey, listen, everybody knows the breakdown, the M-Bar sponsor. It's going to be a whole lot of wings being served by Jackson State tomorrow. Saturday afternoon. I thought Bethune-Cookman, they had their chance. They needed to beat Grambling for this game, for them to where I think they needed to play. They had to beat Grambling because then it really would have meant something. They're bringing the band up there. I think Woody would have been doing their dance. He would have been able to get their speech guys, win one for the Gipper speech. I think that would have really got those guys hyped up. Now, this goes back to now you're playing for pride. I don't know if Bethune-Cookman has that in them to really show out. I think Jackson State also understands what's at stake. This is their last home. Well, it's not their last one. I think Alcorn they play at home. But this is the game that if they're looking at the last two games, they should be worried about. I think they're going to handle business, and I think Jackson State is going to put another 40 piece up, and I think it'll be 40-28.
All right. I got Jackson State, of course. This game right here, it's been a long time since Arkansas Pine Bluff beat Alcorn, huh? They've dropped to 2-4, and they're going against what I would think is the eventual SWAC West winner. And I got Prairie View. I'm not going to even mess around with it. The only speculation in this game is how many Prairie View fans will show up to a game that's really, isn't this the West clinching game right here?
That would be correct.
Yeah. It's they already in the championship game, but this is the nail in the nail in the coffin. It ain't no more mathematics and nothing. This the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
No, Coach, that's not true. They lose these last two, and Grambling wins out. Grambling would be your West champion.
No, but he said if they win this one, this clinches.
Oh yeah.
And what would Grambling be?
Second place.
Yeah, with two losses. Two
losses.
Right. And but you left out something. Grambling got to win the last two too.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So I mean, the game means something.
They got a world beater. They got they're gonna have a mighty feisty team coming there for
either Prairie View can lose to Pine Bluff and come back and beat Valley and still go to the championship.
Yeah.
And we know they're not losing the Valley.
Okay, I've seen the Prairie View team lose the Valley and play in the SWAC championship next week, but it wasn't coached by Tremaine Jackson.
Right.
So let me look here, Mr. Campbell. What are you expecting here from your Rattlers on the road in Huntsville?
I think you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see the same game against Southern. You're going to see the same game that you saw against UAPB. It's going to look ugly. It's going to look funny. But all of a sudden, you're going to see playmakers making plays. And we'll have one of those games where we'll score 30-some points, and they'll score 5 points less, and we'll get out of there with a win. I think Alabama A&M, again, they only scored 3 points against Prairie View's defense. And, again, Prairie View defense way better than FAMU. But they kind of showed you that they've just slowed down our offense. And I think, and once again, we have playmakers to make big plays. I think they're going to make a lot of plays against Alabama A&M. So I think that's going to be one of those things that Cole's going to – this is one of those games that FAMU just got their mojo, and I think they'll win that game.
Yeah, I talked with one of the coaches on the staff at Alabama A&M. They beat up, man. They are beat up. They're beat up. They're playing with the third, fourth team quarterback. You know, they had a lot of injuries. They got to do a whole makeover. You know, they got a lot of recruiting to do, and they got to do a whole makeover, guys.
All right, Coach. This one is interesting. Alcorn has a chance to defeat Southern one week, Grambling the next. In any other year, that would be a huge accomplishment. This year, not so much, considering what Grambling is up against without 17 players on their squad. Coach, who you got in this one?
I think it's going to be a great game. But I think Grambling got the momentum. You know, they've won the last two, beating Jackson State, playing up to the par of a Grambling State team. I got Grambling over Alcorn in a close one.
What about you, Campbell?
Well, this is the thing that's interesting. Let's talk about what the key of the game is what's going to happen with Grambling at the quarterback position. You got a freshman that a young man is going to come in there and play a second game at Alcorn. That has been really a terror for Grambling in years past. So, again, that's the thing about it with Grambling. Are they going to be able to get this kid up to speed? Again, the kid played a hell of a game against Bethune-Cookman. You know what I'm saying? You know, 220 yards. I'm sorry, 220 yards and threw 4 touchdowns. So, again, you're talking about a kid that comes in there, and now here he comes with his second start. And I think he's is he a true freshman? I think he's a true freshman.
Yeah, he's a true freshman.
So you're talking about a true freshman going down there to the reservation. Hey, man, listen, this is what legends are made of. I'm going to tell you, it's hard for me to pick against the G, but I just think I just don't see Alcorn losing this game with this freshman quarterback that just got thrown in there because it's a lot riding on with Grambling. So I'm going to go with Alcorn.
Yeah, I'm looking at Grambling, and I see how did they play Texas Southern? They played Texas Southern really close. Alcorn put the whoop stick out on Texas Southern.
Didn't Grambling beat Texas? I mean, didn't Texas Southern beat Grambling?
No.
Okay. All right.
I don't think so. Hold on. Did they?
Yeah, they fumbled at the 1 yard line.
Yeah. So, man, Mickey should have had 8 wins already. Yeah, but Alcorn put the whoop stick on Texas Southern.
Yeah.
That's the game where
you know Steve McNair, when he was a coach at Alcorn, he had troubles with Texas Southern. He lost about 3 years in a row.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take Alcorn in this one, guys. I can't. Alcorn has really been playing well. Grambling gonna come in shorthanded. I'm gonna take Alcorn. But what do you think about the Battle of the Southerns? Battle of the Southerns. You know, this game has gotten coaches fired at Southern. You know that? It got someone told me that this game right here is actually the game that got Pete Richardson fired. I don't know if that's true. Do you know anything about that, Mr. Coach Cole?
Well, yeah, I was on the other sideline, and we were down, and we had drove down and missed a field goal, and they got the ball, and unfortunately, they didn't realize I had 3 timeouts left, and we stopped them 1, 2, 3, and they punted and gave us the ball back with about 1:50 left, and we were able to drive down and score a touchdown and win the game. And they were letting Coach go that weekend, that Monday. But that was back in 2009.
Yeah.
2009.
Hey, Coach, in this one, I want to take Coach McNair so bad, but I just can't. I got Texas Southern in this one.
Oh. Do you?
Coach? Yeah. Well, let me let you think on it, Campbell. Let me let Coach think on who you got, Campbell.
Well, this is one of those things that Texas Southern's going to look at this season and what could have been. And that's the problem with this game, because they've lost games that they should have won. They should be still in the hunt and hoping for an outside chance of playing for the West. But now they're hoping to see if they can have a winning record, which when you looked at it when they started off, it looked like that was going to be a foregone conclusion. You're talking about a team that's 4-5, 3-3 in the SWAC, playing a 1-9 Southern down there in Mumford. So the thing about it is what's really important for Texas Southern, can they get it going so they can try to finish it? Well, what they got? So they're 4-5. They got, are they Texas Southern playing? Let me see what they got. They got one more game. So they're only playing 11 games. So again, can they get to a winning season? So they play Alabama A&M at the end. So they should win these 2 games. I'm going to go with Texas Southern, but the thing about it is I don't see progress from year 1 to year 2. It looks like they stalled out in the middle of the season. You had Coach Dishman doing some conflicting press conferences. Rocky, you sent us a video by him talking about people not going to class and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And then he comes back on the coach's call on Monday and says everybody's doing great and everybody's doing a good job. So I really don't understand the schizophrenia about who's doing right, who's doing wrong. So that's kind of concerning that he made those statements within a week of each other about his players. So I think, again, he's still trying to find his identity. I don't think Texas Southern has an identity. I know they want to be a running team, but sometimes they run it, sometimes they don't. They definitely have not been a consistent defensive team. And, of course, Southern's already, once again, packed it up. But, again, Southern can bite you. And maybe, like I said, this is Southern's last home game, I'm assuming, again, before the Bayou Classic, I guess. So, again, do they finish up strong for the seniors?
Yeah, that's a good analogy, do it for the seniors. But I mean, I think they got some people that can do it, but at this point in time, I think they probably landed down. I got Texas Southern, they can run the ball real good. They have a problem throwing the ball. Southern got a problem everywhere. So I'm gonna pick my alma mater down in the Bayou, down in Baton Rouge. 24-21.
All right. Last game of next week, which is Alabama State, is going to travel to Itabena. We don't know if Andrew Body is going to be able to play in that game. But I know one thing about it. Coach E-Rob is going to have them ready. Alabama State doesn't lose these games. So since E-Rob is there, they don't lose these games. I got Alabama State.
Yeah, they average 40 points a game, Coach. They can go in there and play a bad game and get 24. Easy. They'll have that in the first half. It's going to be a long game for Mississippi Valley. I got Alabama State 40-3, 7, somewhere in there.
I mean, this game is not even up for discussion. We know what it is. Alabama State's going to come in there. They're going to roll these guys. I mean, it is what it is. They're playing through the cycle. So Alabama State is, like I said, and what they've shown is that they are not just a one-person team. As Andrew's gone down, they are still rolling, still scoring points. Defense still has not gotten to, I know Eddie Robinson, when he looks back at this season, is what could have been if he didn't lose all those guys in the transfer portal. If they would have came back on defense, he might have would have had a national championship team. But unfortunately, he had an offensive team that just didn't have defense to back him up.
Hey, yeah. Hey, guys, we got a little treat for you. Something we want to share with you that we think is relevant. A lot of guys in this on this YouTube space like to act like they know football, talk like they know football. And I want to get this guy, Quincy Avery, is going to go through cover 4. And I'm going to set it up because this was an argument online. I want to say Mia Kimes noted that you should beat cover 4 by throwing it deep, right? Some coach JB said she don't know what she talking about. You don't beat cover 4 by throwing it deep. You think you beat cover 4 by throwing it in the flat. And so,
may I add something to that, Coach?
Go ahead, Coach.
And each coverage has a route that is what they giving up, and you as a coach got to call that route to beat any coverage. Every coverage, there's routes that can beat coverages, routes, and patterns, and so you just got to call that right route or the right pattern to beat different coverages. I just wanted to add that.
Now, Coach, now, and I'll say this, Coach, a lot of us, and I'm going to put me in that category, we think we know ball. We think we know what we're looking at, Coach. I personally have never made one quarter calling a defense or offense, Coach. You, on the other hand, has fed your family, put your kids through college, bought homes, and made a career of calling plays and scoring touchdowns. So you are the expert in this, Coach. And so I'm gonna let you listen to this as this gentleman is breaking this down, and you're gonna tell me whether or not he's correct or incorrect.
Rocky, do you have him on mute? Are you playing the sound or you just playing the play?
Oh man, I can't. You know how my sound. Hold on, let me see. Can I?
If you can't do it, I'm pretty sure because that's the link.
Yeah, pull it up where you can pull it, because you can't. Yeah, y'all can't hear my sound.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me find it. Because this all really stemmed from guys. And I'm going to start with Rocky. What Rocky said, you got a lot of people, because you hear people talking about why plays work, why plays don't work. Man, a lot of people do not understand what goes on and how these coverages actually work. Rocky, where did I send that to you at? I text that, right?
Yeah. You did. You sent it.
Here
to
you go. I got it right here. I got it. I got it. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. All right, hold on. I got it. Mm-hmm.
And again, this is Quincy Avery, a guy, and he has, if you notice the jerseys that are up in his background, those are guys that he's coached and that have made to the NFL. I also think he's coached Cam and also Shador, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is the same guy.
Is it up yet?
Not yet, but you got to press play.
Yeah, I just got to make the screen big. All right, here we go.
There was so much talk last week about quarters coverage, cover 4, by goofy people saying goofy things about how you had to attack the coverage. I'm going to show you the Philadelphia Eagles seeing quarters coverage and knowing that they had the advantage.
And this game was last night, by the way.
All right, so this is the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to come out in a 3-by-1 set. That's 1, 2, 3 receivers to the boundary, 1 receiver to the wide side of the field. All right, so we have 1 receiver to the field. They have 1, 2 safeties, right? So they have 2 safeties on the defense. This is a shell coverage, right? We could be getting 2, we could be getting 4, we could be getting cover 6. But when Jahan Dotson motions from the left side to the right side of the field, notice no defenders work across the field with this. So now we've confirmed we're getting some sort of zone coverage, and that's great. In quarters coverage, a lot of people think that the safety's job is to work just here, like we're just going to get depth. That is not their job. Their first job, eyes to number 2. Number 2 does not travel vertically down the field, so his next job is to take his eyes to number 1. So what ends up happening here is a cornerback and the safety ends up like a vice. They're double teaming A.J. Brown in this situation. So A.J. Brown is working here, so McKinney will not get any more depth. He has to be responsible and take away the inside there on anything that A.J. Brown is running. Now, here's the problem with quarters coverage. That puts one of their absolute best receivers, one of the best receivers in the NFL, Devontae Smith, one-on-one versus Evan Williams, right? Evan Williams is here. Devontae Smith is here. That's a really difficult situation for anybody. But when you have this much room and separation, we get here. We can work to the corner. We can work to the post. And there is no help here, right? We've isolated this safety versus one of our top tier receivers. That puts him in hell. This ball doesn't have to be great. We have all this room to the field. We're running a post. He's got as much room as you want to work running this post in order to create this touchdown. That is why people say in quarters coverage, we want to be able to isolate the safety and throw the ball down the field, and that is exactly what they did. So anytime you hear somebody say, hey, if we get quarters coverage, we get cover 4, we just want to work 3 to the flats, that is wrong. You want to take your chances, get explosive plays, and that's how the Philadelphia Eagles did it.
Let me tell you what's funny about that. If you look at that play, that's a literally exact play that Jack State runs with Nate Rembert, and just has been killing people all year because of what exactly Nate Rembert does and what he puts pressure. They literally ran that play on FAMU. That play was the play that Nate ran on FAMU when that safety came up and Nate was gone. So it was kind of interesting. The reason why I wanted to show that, because Coach, and I'll let you break it down even more from a college standpoint, when you see the defenses, and like you say, why do they have so much trouble? We've seen Jack State run this type of pattern consistent. We've seen Alabama State run this pattern and be successful. Why would we have so much trouble defending that offensive set with that play?
Well, I mean, the thing of it is that sometimes the safeties don't get deep enough or not deep at all. And sometimes you find them looking in the backfield. Quarter coverage is when you start getting in those coverages in colleges, most of the time you better have a very experienced secondary, because young guys, coming out of high school, they get in trouble by looking in the backfield and not doing what they're supposed to do. Like I was saying earlier, there's different routes as well as different patterns to attack what coverage is. A lot of times, you hear people say, well, who's high on top? Meaning, how many safeties they have on top? Some is 1, some is 2. And then sometimes people think, oh, well, they're either in 2-zone or 2-man, meaning they're in a zone instead of a matchup coverage. Quarters is just like it is. Quarter. You got a quarter field. I got a quarter from the top of the numbers to the hash. You got a quarter. And if that receiver comes off, and if he comes off at least at 12, I lock on man. And that's what you see right there. If I don't have a man as a safety, now I'm looking outside to take away the dig route, because I know my corner is taking away the outside. So in that case, to me, yeah, I like the post. I do like the post, but I think the post corner would even been better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But as a coordinator, that's your job. Your job is to find mismatches. Whether it's throwing the ball in the flats, I get that. I get that what people saying, I'm going to run number 1 off and then I'm going to get in the flat. and see if I can match up against a linebacker or something like that. I see why they say that, but that ain't the only route that you can throw against cover.
The argument was you shouldn't throw deep on quarters, and that's because Mina Kimes on ESPN, she said you take a deep shot on quarters, and a lot of times when people hear quarters, they think that's 4 safeties, coach, 4 deep, and
two deep safeties in the corner,
yeah. But in essence, what it is, it's more of a matchup kind of situation than anything else. Because like what Quincy Avery pointed out, if that outside guy goes inside, that safety has to then go cut the dig off. You know what I mean?
Unless that safety has a guy.
Yeah, but he didn't. He didn't have a guy.
Right.
Because 2 went on the other side of the formation. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, coach, those are the kind of things that we're gonna be doing here. Just looking at plays, looking at different stuff, man, because a lot of people on here want to talk ball, act like they know ball. And at the end of the day, coach, like you've told me many times, with 40,000 in the stands, on you, breathing down on you, with the game on the line, you've made calls.
Yeah.
And there's not very many people on this YouTube space that have done that, you know. And like I say, you've made those calls in those pressure-packed situations. And so you should use your knowledge and share it with us and get us to understand things. And for really to quit just thinking we know things when we really don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot going to this game.
Absolutely. Hey, Campbell, I don't have anything else. You got anything?
Yeah, I got one thing just a shout out. Yeah, and this goes back to my challenge of all the people. I know everybody, got the different schools they go to. I'm proud to say my freshman class of 1988, that's our foundation arm. We are going to be sponsoring the FAMU basketball team when they come to Georgia. We'll be paying for the kids' meals and helping Coach Ward and those guys. So once again, putting our money where our mouth is. So I always say this again, if you guys, many of our schools, especially during basketball season, come to these big cities or they're coming to play teams that are close, make sure that you get with your alumni association. Make sure you get with the athletic director and see how you can directly help the men's and women's basketball teams or volleyball or whoever else comes into your town, because you would be amazed how important that is for these kids to be able to be fed and taken care of before, they play these big games. So shout out to my freshman class of 88. We'll see everybody at the University of Georgia with FAMU men's basketball, and I'm proud to say that we'll be one of the sponsors taking care of their meals. That's all I got, Coach.
All right, man. Veterans Day, man. Again, want to take our hats off to all the veterans. This is your day. I thank you. All the support, all the giving your life and laying your life on the ground for us, or being away from your family. Man, I can't say enough. And of course, some of them have given their life just for the freedoms that we have. So I want to thank you guys this day. Man, just like I always say, if you feel yourself at the end of the rope, you're tied knot and you hold on tight, because as I always say, ain't nobody